Okay, I'm going to go ahead and create a subrace of the elves.
Okay.
Are you recording?
Yep.
Okay.
So where's the best
I've been recording
proper
since before
forest?
Is this proper forest over here? That's proper forest.
Proper forest. Oh, would you
Now
have
it's
plans
on
for
record.
Does this mess up? your
Robin's
plans for
Okay, I can use that one.
Oh, okay.
That's a cold jungle, though.
Ice
It's okay. It's still forest.
No, we have plans for this, Sharon.
But
We don't have
Make
plans
ice
for the
elves.
whole thing.
Okay.
I
Well,
saw
You could also use the gold jungle.
So the wild
It
elves,
helps with the mag.
they ditch the bones of the earth entirely. They feel it's a corruption, it's a blight on the elves. The only way to cleanse themselves of it is to basically lead the other elves. They get everybody that is on board with this. Because at this point it's been long enough that a lot of the elves are starting to be, hey, we like the Codex/Bones of the Earth. That's pretty good stuff. It might make us a mighty civilization. You know, oh yeah, my grandfather told me that the East is bad, but whatever. So these guys kind of reactionary. They go to live in the forest. Not very smart because they're just like, we're just ditching everything. We're going there. We're going to learn to live with nature. We've been all city born. It's going to be great. And you know,
Can't be elves.
So it's like BSG.
We'll just drag our ships onto the land and put some wheels on them.
But you know, so they basically they're starting Elvish society from scratch. They do have an oral tradition of
So
pulling
the elves
happen.
land here? Or,
This is where the wild elves live now.
okay, where did the elves land?
They
Over
lived
here.
in
Over
Allenway.
here. And they
And
have
then
a
there's some
city here.
towers and
Okay, so this is the Honeycomb Island, or is
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
that's
it's
not
that one?
What's
Oh, and
this?
it,
That's got volcanoes.
that's
And Allenway is destroyed.
Okay,
but,
guys.
this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And they've tied haven here, and it's kind of like a refuge for.
Oh, okay, so they
stuff.
kind of hung out in Fenland for a little bit.
And they are starting to.
No, tie haven's here. I don't know why you did that.
They're getting pretty in touch with magic, though, just by naturally, because
Oh,
elves
just
are pretty good with it.
like nature
They're not
magic
advancing,
or
yeah,
any
nature
kind of-
magic and stuff like that, divine magic. One day they'll get good at it. Right now, though, they're just struggling to
How
survive.
did they get to the forest?
Because the Elvish Navy is big, and they have,
And there's
and
a
also
canal.
we have the canal now. So
Okay, so you paid the love phoenixes.
yes, we paid the love phoenixes.
Excellent.
The
Yeah,
other
we
thing
can
is this
afford
advanced
some
civilization for the High Elves. Trade. They are the best civilization in the world at trade because they still have even to pass a tidal wave. Enough of their ships are around that they're trading this way and that and starting to become very prosperous.
These are the wild elves? The new
No,
guys?
no,
or
the
just
old elves. The old elves.
Okay.
So anyway, that is my turn.
What's the name of
No, it's
the
good
new
at
elf? The wild elf.
Wild elves, yeah.
Robert, I had an idea to use the Triforce this
Okay.
time around.
The Triforce
Did you,
game?
did you have?
I didn't, but Robin had something in mind too.
Oh.
But Robin
There's
was gonna.
3 Triforces.
Well, you're supposed to use it once per age, and Robin said she was going to do it in the first round and count it as the first age.
Oh, okay. That's
Mm.
fine.
Oh, yeah.
Tim, would any of the elves?
Yeah.
Would
I don't have anything in
they
mind.
appropriate to help the wild
Yeah,
elves?
I don't
in
have
their
anything in mind for
migration
myself.
and
Okay.
possibly help them survive the initial bit.
I just thought it would be
What's
cool if it was
their
there.
governing attribute? I missed
Their
it.
governing attribute is that they're trying to rid themselves of what they see as the corruption in the old race and trying to live in tune with nature. Hippie elves.
They're hippie elves.
With the earth, you know, there's a cycle. And we're all part of it.
It's called the second cycle.
Yeah, try Lemnical, Night of the Moon,
Alrighty.
but you gotta roll for it. And remember, they have a 50% death chance these days.
That's what you get when you try and help out.
Alright. High is he lives.
He dies!
Okay,
Does he die at sea,
the grave
or-
of Sir Lemuel is somewhere in the forest there.
50%?
He might have died at sea.
Man, I hope there's still
Oh,
some
tree
left.
totally
Well,
fell
when
off.
there are 3 of them left, I'm gonna,
Do something.
start. Yeah, but they just weren't dying enough yet last time. So
They're gonna die like flies now. Oh, the poor knight helped us out.
well, maybe we should make it a 30%.
Well, 50% feels good because like it's gonna take a while to kill all those guys off down
Yeah.
to 3.
Yeah.
Like
50% sounds good.
because I mean, how many of
There's
them are
a lot
left
of
alive?
them, and we don't
How
need
many
them
more
all
do you want to
now.
kill?
Does
There
a
are
tree
9. We've
count?
killed 3. I eventually want to kill all but 1. Though Leonard probably counts as semi-dead because he's a tree.
Oh, Leonard.
Right. So there's
Yeah.
there's 3 left
Sir
to
Leonard.
kill.
Sir
So we
Leonard,
still gotta
sorry.
Oh,
use.
using
We
that
got
arrows?
we got on average
Okay.
use the knight 6 times just to kill 3 more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Knight of the Rose is definitely out.
Yeah.
He's gonna sit this one out.
So really, four are down. So all we need to
Actually,
do
I
is
have
kill
a plan
2
which
more.
might
and-
kill him.
Was
way
it
to use
Sir Leonard?
You're gonna kill the tree?
No, I'm just fire.
Oh,
Don't kill Sir Leonard. He's so hokey. What would we do without him?
Anyway, well, we'll see what happens when we get to it.
There's something which involved a tree in one of my turns, and I was thinking of using him for a bonus.
The
And
phoenixes are made of fire.
Well, actually, yeah, that means you'd have to roll to see whether he dies.
I know, that's what I meant. It's not like I'm planning to do anything with the tree, it's just I want to do something there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Well,
want to have a bunch of phoenixes.
No, actually, if you can
It's
use
a
him,
bad idea.
but he's kind of he's part of a tree, so he's semi-immune from the dangers of
Oh,
carrying
okay.
Okay.
Daring do.
It's a very big tree.
Alright, are you done?
Yeah. Oh!
Alright, we got a ton of points from last episode.
Everything is hard to
Yo-ho-ho!
believe. Sorry.
Score! I rolled 10, I get 3 bonus, and I had 4 from last time. 17! Woo!
Is that enough to do all your nefarious deeds?
Well, I can't because there's a whole lot of stuff that hasn't been set up yet.
Hmm.
There's no ponies. But,
I'll do
but
right
there's,
away.
there's some other stuff I'll do with that. Okay. So,
You have the price list on the other side. You have the price list.
We don't have it.
Okay, let's see if I
where
can
are
get
legends
this
again?
out.
Okay.
Collecting
John, can you please have an extra price list?
I mean, we can share this one, right?
That might
I didn't
be
touch it.
Yeah, the craft force is something.
I might be able to print out another price list in Hammett, promise.
Command civilization. The humans are going to fortify the eastern border.
I agree with Shannon.
I disagree entirely, and I'm going to
That
carry
was
on
so
with what I
eloquent.
was doing.
Tears
I'm
are in my
indifferent
eyes.
to
It's
that.
like a sandwich between 2 fortified borders.
Oh, can I get the Reese's?
It's kind of cool.
You would like a piece of Reese?
It's like these mountains weren't impassable
You see, what I'm
enough
gonna try to
already.
do-
Let's put human defenses there
You
too.
can eat it without touching it.
Yeah.
It's just my mouth.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, you know, that way,
That's what I did.
perhaps.
And like open it and like.
Okay,
That's
so
the way
we're
to
going
like
for
it.
Yeah.
Better.
they're
Oh, those
fortifying
two?
that, well, you know,
Oh, yeah,
there's,
okay.
there's dwarves around that freaking area. And these are just the happy Vikings. They're not a threat.
Except for raiding your coastline.
Yeah, but it's, you know, oh, there's gophers on the
Gnomes
coastline.
were
That's
all
not a
about
threat.
like
You're not a threat to
I plan on
us.
sacking that city.
making people's identities go on.
We
That's
are
still
mighty.
true, right?
Okay,
Anyway.
Okay.
that's
Um,
for later.
yeah.
I
Well,
have,
let's see. What now, I will. There's not
I
enough
have
cities.
evil to unleash upon
No,
them.
there isn't.
So I'm going to spread the humans out a little bit. They're going to put a port city over here. That. And, let's see.
Oh, yay! If you want, I can
So
transcribe
now you don't even need the like your sheet. You
Another
can just look on the
city
back
down here.
because now you can like
There we
score
are.
on this one is unadulterated.
Yeah,
That's a little too far. That's in more contested area.
Oh yeah, I remember
I
that.
need it more contested. I'll just put it
That's all right.
out there.
Well, I think John said that we could get one free, not cataclysm, but we can get one free catastrophe.
Oh, no, I can't spend that much.
I don't think I will need any kind of catastrophes or cataclysms with the number of free cataclysms and catastrophes that are floating around the table.
Can't afford that.
Nah,
Well, I'm
'cause they're
fine.
not.
I'm pretty sure that I will be the great
They're
builder.
just like a scroll.
They're not.
And everyone else
really
repair
shit
stuff
like
down.
that.
I have a whole idea for
Good job.
catastrophe, and a new race will come
Got
out.
it. Leave it right next to
Dead
tea
tea
bag
bag
on it.
Okay,
You need to save up and make sure you have enough to create them both at once.
so,
Yeah, I think I might.
The same catastrophe, same race, otherwise
Okay,
it's embarrassing.
now I press back.
Either it happens twice. Oh yeah, yeah.
You never know.
Sucks to be those guys. Yeah, their city got nuked twice. Huh, funny.
That should happen. to
That's
elves.
actually a dumb sounding name. I'll pick a different name.
Why should it happen to elves?
You
The elves
can
have
do
done
well.
nothing except
Okay.
they made a lot of money.
There's something else I was going to do.
Well, let's make your names later. then.
Okay.
No,
Okay,
it absolutely
so-
would be appropriate.
So the Ood, while preparing to defend against the dwarves, were concerned that the dwarves might get another super weapon like the Titan, and so they had constructed a super weapon of their own. They called it the Titan Slayer because they're dumb. Anyway, basically, the Titan Slayer is like a huge land battleship. It's on like treads or something. And I'm not sure. I've worked out the details, but it's huge and it had like this great big, laser cannon thing on there. Unfortunately, after the cataclysm, its main armament was wrecked by the wrecking of magic. And so when the dwarves finally scavenged this thing, it's basically just a huge platform on treads with, it's got good armor, it's got some lesser defenses that can take out troops and stuff, but it doesn't have its main super weapons. And so the salvagers will clear out all that non-functional equipment, and it becomes like a mobile city. Unfortunately, or rather fortunately, it's too big to fit through any of the passes, so it can't participate in the war against humanity. But they can have a mobile city, basically. That was my goal.
What's this stuff here?
Fortifications.
Something that
I
wraps the brain
use
around.
command civilization for the humans to build fortifications all
Like-
along there. They're not
Okay.
cities. They're like
Maybe
a line
you're-
of forts and
Yeah.
defenses and stuff
Okay.
like that. And that
I
will
missed
boost
that.
their defenses. Anyway,
Well, good.
Dang.
So you're buffing up the dwarves so you can knock them down harder?
I just like the notion of a city on
What?
treads,
Are you networked to our
It made more
and
sense for
and it
dwarves.
made sense for it to be over there.
I just want to show a picture.
And then I made it too big to fit through the mountain passes, so that because it was intended as a defensive weapon.
Who is
But
currently in control
you'll
of
have
the
to
city?
wash your dwarves.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, dwarf and salvagers.
There's-
Yeah, that's what makes sense. I just want to
Yeah, I
get
have a
that.
cloth in here.
You
Well,
can
just
use
wait
it
for
if
that.
you want. So can I guess. It's
Yeah.
not really an attempt to gain influence. I just wanted it to exist.
That's what I do.
The city I made is called Lildem. Lildem. Lildem.
I'm going to make a city here, which I will name later because I don't know. This is a city of, former slaves that were.
City of
What
stolen
would a
property.
society of former slaves be like?
Stolen property.
Very socialist, I would think.
I'll think the name after I have created that one.
Can they be communist?
It's on the ice sheet?
No, that's,
No,
I think
no,
that's an island.
it's still on the green. And
Oh,
the
that's the
fertile
island.
green area.
Gotcha.
Well, the Githyanki and the Githzerai are former slaves races. The Githyanki went a very
Call
different way
it-
from the Githzerai.
Elman.
I'll take your word for it.
Elman? Is that from Viking?
The Githyanki became space pirates, and the Githzerai became like space monks.
Very different.
They're fun races.
I mean, very different reaction. Well, there's space in there.
I'm sorry. Good point, Ryan. How do I miss these things?
City. Is that command civilization?
To make a city?
Yeah.
So I can keep track. I'm going to create a race up in here.
Oh, go for it.
That's
Oh.
okay, they're peaceful.
Okay.
They are a kind of yak-based race.
What?
What?
Well, why don't you?
No, it's fine.
I was
instead
gonna
of
make
complaining-
bugbears, but that sounds cool. I like
I have
yaks.
a race of cows in my mind. They could be distant cousins.
Okay, I don't know. I like the Tauren from
The
World
woolly,
of Warcraft. So I
Oh, so
I think that
they
breaks
stand on
your
their-
plan though too, doesn't
Yeah, I
it?
was going to make minotaurs. Like, much-
Well,
much later on.
everybody had the same idea.
Well, yours were going to be like
Well-
literal cows, right?
yeah, mine are gonna be like actual cows.
Cow
Oh
cows.
right.
The
That's okay.
4-footed walks on all fours, not humanoid.
Well,
Yeah. I don't know. It's okay. I can live with
That
it.
could
Maybe
be
your
both.
minotaurs could come out of them. Like subrace?
No.
Oh.
Totally not.
what is your idea with your minotaurs?
I'm not saying, but
Now's your
Yeah,
chance
they're-
to argue me out of
okay.
making things.
Basically, they are going to be created magically in the Third Age as a slave race.
Can I have one?
I can give you one, sure.
Totally want to slave me.
But anyway, yeah, having natural
Take
minotaurs
one.
around is going to be a little bit weird.
What about woolly mammoth people?
Mammoth people? What's kind of
Weird.
Walrus.
weird?
But kind of cool.
Walrus people are okay.
Walrus people.
Okay, we're gonna make walrus people.
Well, no. Is there any? There's no.
It doesn't. I don't want to be obstructionist, you know. I can work with it. It just.
I was gonna
I
throw
thought
bugbears
you
up
said you
there.
didn't want anthropomorphic
I don't want
animals.
too many because it'll start to, you know, be like normal, and then that's going to be troublesome. They can't be normal. There can be like a few around.
So are these,
Well, the
are these
Badlands
still-
aren't exactly the center of
This
civilization.
is true.
Are your yak people? Are they? Do they walk on 2 legs or 4 legs?
2 legs.
They'd be torn like.
They'd be torn, like,
Yeah.
except shaggier and more suited for the extreme cold.
The walrus people would
Well,
know
if
what
they
could
stay,
do.
Are
actually,
you
if
okay
they,
with them all dying out?
if they, no, if they stay up there,
Die.
if they stay up there for the most part,
If I have
then
to
that
stab
shouldn't
every single one of
interfere.
them, is that okay?
If they'll stay up there, that should be fine. Should be.
Yeah, I wasn't even planning on.
Okay.
I just thought, like,
Okay, that's
Are they
fine.
kind of like Tibetan society.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
That's
I like
cool.
it.
actually.
They would like
Sure.
Hermits, kind of.
Yeah, that'll fit. That'll
Yeah.
fit.
They're
Tibetan
very
yaks.
hairy.
Tibetan yak
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I like that.
As long as you're not going to have them like, you know, sailing ships all over the place
No,
and being
they're just gonna go up there and
quick
make a
areas
city.
traders that
Hermitage.
have an enclave in every port sort of thing. That
We're gonna
would
make a
call
city,
it?
which I
Something
will.
like that.
Oh, I don't
That's-
know.
That's ridiculous.
The yarn. They're the yarn.
Eka.
We're not even gonna put them on the
Find
ocean.
something Tibetan.
Tukit.
I don't have. I wish I had
You need an
a
outlet.
something to. I
What?
wish I had a computer
I
with
have.
Google. I could look up things.
What are you trying to look up? Names?
Yeah.
You can do names for you.
so-
Yeah, you can totally send it to me after the fact.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's
where's
a city
Huna?
version. And I'm done.
Okay.
Morsu.
City of
I
Gods.
have a way that might help actually.
Island. Naked Mountain.
Medical maps.
Oh.
Sound of
And go
Happiness.
to
Jake
Tibet.
Rocket.
Get some
Yeah.
Would that help?
Yes. Yes, you are.
I'm just looking at your world map of craziness.
And then we could look at
Around where I think
Tibet in
that
its
is.
relationship from
Where
John
it
Hopkins.
is.
Does it have the swim across the ocean one?
Oh, here's Tibet. How about the Yunnan?
Ooh, that sounds cool.
It's a place near Tibet. Y-U-N-N-A-N?
Yeah, that's
It's a nice
starts with a Y.
Yeah. Yunnan. And it sounds peaceful.
Yeah. Okay, so it's Y what?
What? That's the name of the race?
Yeah. Y-U-N-N-A-N.
Sounds yak like peaceful and yeah, kind of.
Hermit
love this picture.
Are they monks?
No,
I discovered.
but they're
You know what I discovered yesterday?
in a non-religious way.
Slacklining yoga.
What?
You do yoga while...
Standing on a slack line.
Oh,
Crazy.
that sounds difficult.
If you go to Google Maps and you ask for a route from the Shire to Mordor, and tell it, give me a walking path from the Shire to Mordor. There's actually two places. I think the Shire is in England, and Mordor is this place in Belgium or something. And it'll give you walking directions, but it will preface it
That's
with caution.
Largely
One
what
does
I
not
thought it would
simply
be.
Yeah,
walk
I thought
into
it was-
Mordor. They have a special case checker for that particular
Okay.
Alright.
path.
Don't quite have enough to do everything I
Yeah,
want, but I'll
so
have to do
there's
quite
a
a bit next
plateau
time.
of Tibet, but then Tibet
I'm short
is
by-
in that corner.
Here's the
2
area.
points.
It's
Oh wait, no.
Ooh,
kind of
yeah.
all over there. It's kind of hard to
This
actually.
is fine.
Galilee
Short by
Dons.
1 point.
Srinagar.
You guys spot me a point.
I can blow you a point. I've got one.
What do you want to do?
Okay, I got a name for the city.
Alright, well, I have enough to do almost everything
Alright, I'll
except for
write
one
this
point.
I
and
can
then
loan you a point in exchange for 2 points next time you use points.
No
Are
bartering
you looking
points.
for a Tibetan name?
I got one.
How about
Alright.
Gongfu Yeezy?
I can
We're
just
gonna do
I can
a
lend you the point
to-
until.
Well, the thing I want to spend the point on is pretty.
What sounds
Oh,
a
it's
T
Not that.
anyway?
It's pretty pointless. So
Okay.
I
Well,
I might go
You
just
sure it doesn't
sell you
separate
one.
out?
I
Or
seriously
two?
at some point want to like learn enough of Chinese in order to pronounce their names. I have
Okay.
no idea.
So
Yeah.
this is the gnome lands, right?
Yeah.
In these hills, at some point, no one exactly knows where they came from, but a strange race of colorful ponies emerges. They seem to be somewhat related to the ponies that the gnomes have had there for centuries, but they're sentient. They have human level intelligence. They are they're normal. They're basically normal ponies, but they also are extremely colorful. They're bright. They're all like bright colors, like bright neon blue, bright neon pink, whatever.
Do they eat shrimp? Is that why
They're-
they're so colorful?
At this point, they eat
Go.
grass and whatnot. They're basically exactly like ponies, except they're bright neon colors and they have human level intelligence.
They have marks on them too?
No.
Okay.
So they appear
And where is it?
In the hills.
in the hills
Oh,
there
okay.
at roughly the same time. Let me just figure out exactly
Well,
where I
they're pretty close to the friendly elves.
was.
Somewhat appropriate, I guess.
At roughly the same time, around here in some human settlements, no one's exactly. There's a bunch of various tales of why this happened, but it's not entirely confirmed. A bunch of people in the local settlements are there. And this creates subrace who are they're born and they're not humans, except they're all bright colors like neon blue and neon pink, and they have superhuman intelligence, and so they're all born psionic. So they're all scions. And as far at this point, like scion isn't a class; it's a race. So they're the race of scions. You could change that later, but that's how it is right now. So scion is totally a race. It's these bright pink or bright blue, bright whatever guys that are like humans.
And they're born to humans?
There's conflicting stories by the time the campaign starts, so I'm not going to go into it. But
Can they have babies who are human?
their babies are scions, and humans' babies are humans, and they're like a totally separate subrace now. I guess if it's probably one of those things where if they have a baby, it's a 50-50 chance or whatever if you crossbreed them. But they're a subrace now, bright-colored humans with psionic powers. At the same time, roughly here in the mountains, a race of smart trolls emerges who are also brightly colored in various neon colors. They
What's going on?
they
Luke's forgotten.
yeah
They're
they're brightly colored trolls. They're called smart trolls, or they eventually start to be called smarls, as it like morphs into one word, like smarls. And they're a little bit smarter than the average human. So it's just like a few trolls. So they just sort of start up a little race, and they're living in the mountains over here. They don't even have a city or anything.
Dwarves won't like that.
Yeah, no, they won't. But they're just a little thing now. They're not well known or anything.
They have problems hiding from the doors.
And also we have
Maybe dwarves are colorblind.
a race of humans with oddly colored skin in an empire that's all about slavery. This is not going to end well.
Don't worry, at least they have special powers.
When he was
That would
describing
keep
that,
them
was
safe
anybody
from
else
being
thinking Dr.
enslaved.
Manhattan? But Dr. Manhattan could totally be
oh,
one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although if they're that powerful, then we've got things.
Yeah.
Could you toss me a couple of these?
Yeah, if the humans try to enslave the Dr. Manhattans, that might not go so well.
Well, I think it's generally the whole
I
world
can't do that.
is going to grind to a halt because it's like, what happens this turn? Whatever they want.
I don't have influence.
Oh, what are you trying to do?
I'm short a point anyway, so there's something that would totally happen at this moment, but I guess I'll have to pay for it next round.
I can spot your point. I totally will spot your point. I won't even ask for interest.
He still
Well,
needs to get
a bunch
influence,
of-
so he needs
Over here is about where it should be. If you don't like it, then I can put it in a different city. But no, just on this coastline, they discovered that around this coastline there's a bunch of the random sea slugs that were there. There are a bunch of brightly colored sea slugs are found there, and they have dog-like intelligence, so they're like good pets. And
I'm further out.
no, hold on. If you don't want them there, then that's fine. But I want them to start getting adopted as pets, so people keep them as pets. You don't want them in your city?
That's fine. It's okay.
I can.
It's
The
just so
benevolent
weird.
Vikings.
So weird.
How big are these
Like,
sea
these little
slugs?
pet
By sea
slugs.
slugs,
If they're in
they
this-
have to be
they're
underwater.
very
No,
No,
I'll be
it's
first,
fine. It's just
Gnomes?
weird.
John, don't sea slugs
Gnomes
be
are big
underwater
about
all the
status
time?
symbols.
Okay, they're not sea slugs. They're just slugs.
Okay.
They're about this big, and they call them poots. And they're just brightly colored dog intelligent slugs. They could also be.
It's
Is
fine.
this a human city?
I'm gonna wipe this.
That's too close to the.
Yeah, I get that. I don't
Maybe
want
the
slugs
salt
You
either.
can
dragons
do
will
it.
get there.
It's fine, John.
Okay, because that's the right place for them. So.
Totally, you get the salt dragons.
So yeah, it's just. It's just people start to keep pet slugs here because they're just like dogs, right? They're affectionate like dogs. They're smart as dogs,
Salt dragons!
but they're totally pets. So that's my turn.
I shouldn't have blown the point.
Really,
Okay,
four, that makes 7, so.
And he made Smarls.
Marl's Boots.
Oh wait,
Inside.
I had a name for the ponies. Let me just shoot. What was I going to name them?
Horse lift.
Ponies.
That's, Laura calls them monies.
No.
Moni!
I went and looked
They're
up
not allowed to go in
the.
caves.
I went and looked up the episode list because I couldn't remember what came after Lesson 0. Because I was like, I was sure that the one after Lesson 0 isn't scary. It's Moon Eclipsed.
Is,
The episode all
I was
about
thinking of calling
scary
them the
stuff.
Ponen. Is that anything? Ponen?
Ponen?
Yeah, they call themselves the Ponen.
I don't think that's anything.
Okay. Sub-breaks, I guess.
So much sub racing going on.
I got a sub race coming
Races
up too.
are I still have a race.
Okay,
back
so
now.
basically there's something called the slave route. And what happens is the Sunlanders go a-Viking. They go on adventures. That's the meaning of the word Viking, to go adventuring. What they do is they get on their long ships and they go Robin Hooding all down the human coast. Looting stuff, freeing slaves, etc. And then that ends them up around around this cape. They start to have a ship full of freed slaves and treasure. And sometimes they've got a whole bunch of little huddled slaves, kind of shaking in fear and not really sure what to do. And in that case, they give them a mug of hot cocoa, turn around and head back up over here, where they drop them off in the city of freed slaves.
Sorry, who did it pick up?
Slaves.
Oh, okay.
They're freeing the
Is
slaves.
that right?
It's like the opposite of real life.
But sometimes they look back and the slaves are all sitting around chatting and they're like, hey, taking a turn at the oars, and the Vikings are like, do you guys want to go back or do you want to go forward? And they're like, let's go forward. So what they do is they grab the slaves and they take them down around this way, and they're like, we could take you to the elven city of Tide Hollow because there's lots of opportunities there. The elves are happy to have people. And they're like, yeah. And one of the first things that a slave sees as he's starting to get used to being freed is they pull up to this to the canal and they see
It's a
the
beautiful
pomegranate
canal.
tree.
It's beautiful.
And the Viking boats don't usually want to pay the toll, so they pull up to the pomegranate tree, and the slaves get off, and they meet the phoenixes, who are this noble, elegant, articulate, beautiful race. And the slaves, they're put down on this the edge of this pomegranate tree, and they're free for the first time in their lives, and it gives them this incredible sense of optimism. Like, the world is their oyster. They've seen this tree. They can go anywhere. They can do anything. And I'm going to create a new subrace called the Mongrels.
Mongrels?
The Mongrels. Essentially, I'm going to use the half-elven template, except they're not half-elven. They're half-human. Half-human, half anything else. Like there are half dwarves, there are half phoenixes, there are half, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, half Icemer. You know, there are all kinds of features are visible in the mongrel race, and they're. I can't yet advance them or anything, so they're just right now. They're just basically set up here, but I'm going to give them cities and all that.
Are you wanting them pure? Because they can be as pure as the Viking. Or
Yeah.
Blooders.
Well, it's a sub race, so I'm kind of making them basically neutral, because but they're goodish.
Yeah.
Like they're really grateful to the elves and the Vikings, because
I think what's really happening is the Vikings come in, they
make them
collect,
good. Yeah, they're
they
good.
collect the slaves, and usually they take the load of slaves back to the city back there.
I'm done.
But sometimes they've got a load of slaves, and they're like, there's something weird with these guys. Let's dump them over there. And that's why there's mongrel over there, but not over there. That's my theory.
How did they become half human?
Yeah, I'm a little bit curious about that.
Well,
Why
it's-
is there half Icemer?
they get a boat. Like they're freed.
Oh,
So
so
they-
they're not mongrel folk when they're brought over there.
No.
Okay.
This is going to happen over time.
Okay,
Except right
okay.
now, I have to
All right.
create the race, and then I can build their city.
Okay.
And
That makes more sense
backstory.
because I'm like, they start out with slaves, and by the time they're there,
So they're
like,
human
free.
slaves,
They're just-
freed,
I
and then
guess
they're going to
we-
breed.
sexing it up.
What?
But, yeah.
I'm going to be half Icemer.
like
I'm
once,
free. What's the first thing I'm gonna do? Look, there's a dwarf. Sorry, Tim. We get it.
Well, no, it's partly that we're free, but also
Well, love phoenixes, yeah.
yeah.
Love
Well,
those
I mean,
who
it's
go
it's
with
their
that.
first impulse.
Yeah.
Most of them go have a talk with Sir Leonard, and he's like, "Yeah, you're free. You could do anything you want."
You can do anyone you want.
you could do it with that lady over there. It's probably fortunate that you missed out on this. Don't review the recording. It's perfectly fine.
All I heard was you can do it with that lady over there.
Yeah, that's about-
that's
what happens.
That's something. Okay, so
Sir
anyway.
Leonard has had some influence.
Oh. Are the mongrels all like hippie love now?
No,
No, but it
not
explains-
exactly.
More
They're
like
just
free love.
Explains their
no,
origin.
it's not that they believe in wild gratuitous sex. They just believe that.
Well,
There's nothing stopping them.
Well, they believe in
opportunity?
opportunity. They are opportunists. They are.
Seize the day.
They're definitely all about seize the day. They're like,
They seize that cart.
yeah.
There's half carp over there. Oh. Anyway, do your turn already before we get through.
Me?
Yeah.
Alright. I don't know what I'm doing yet. But we'll find out.
You
Well,
can
I
start
guess
with
I
a 3
got
bonus.
That's an unfortunate roll.
5, so 8. What are the Nameless up to right
Yeah.
now?
Nameless. They're mostly in Shantytown, but their religion has influence in various places. as well.
What's their religion?
The brown robes.
Well, everyone else calls them the brown robes. They don't think that it deserves a name. Basically, it's kind of socialist because they believe basically the religion goes, I don't have a name, so I don't have to be worried about my own status or it's reaction to the gnomish society. So I can spend my life in something interesting. So some of them will go become squire of a famous knight or an assistant in the workshop of a great inventor, and a huge number of them believe that the thing that they want to get interested in is taking care of the nameless gnomes. So they're very socialist. They tend to have all their possessions in common. None of them have any names. They all wear brown. They believe that God doesn't have a name, that he wears brown, that he looks like a gnome. So they're never sure. They have trouble telling each other apart too. And they don't consider that it's important to tell each other apart, because what's important is, making sure everyone's fed, everyone's happy. We're all poor, but we're all poor together. Very, very communist, except,
I'd like to move them to
Okay.
Finland.
Finland?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they've got a shanty town right on the edge of Finland. That's their kind of origin place.
I think they would make good Finns.
Go Finland!
Maybe that guy does a better job than we
I don't have
thought.
any influence over them. So I could spend 6 and then I could start doing stuff with them next turn. Because I can't command them or anything
Yeah.
yet. The other thing, I guess I could spawn something. I don't know exactly. Maybe, I guess it's maybe an event. Yeah, it seems eventy. Because the gnomes are all about like identity theft or squashing out people's identities and yeah. So I think this will have this sort of behavior from the gnomes. I guess has attracted powers from beyond, and I guess a cult to the theft of identity sort of springs up there, and sort of like the demons in D&D are all about destroying things, and the devils are about like subverting things to their will. There's another power in the world, and it's sort of it's a power that wishes to take identities. They come from a great void where nothing really exists, and there's no identity. But there's these spirits out there that seek to come to the world and steal people's identities. So I guess I could create a race. The doppelgangers come into the world.
I was going to call them an honest.
And they're sort of the first agents of this power in the world, and they'll live in the gnome. They'll come into existence in the gnome lands, and so that'll leave me with 2 points left over. I guess creating a race.
Okay, did you also move the Nameless to Fenland, or?
No, I only had 8 points, so I couldn't gain influence over the nameless.
They're kind of on the border of Finland, so
Yeah,
I kind of assumed that there are lots of them in Finland.
yeah.
But they're cities on the border.
Alright.
So, John, for my
1 second, I just had a problem here. Sorry.
So one of the stars, I don't have to have influence with the stars just to take one and use it, right? Because they're kind of free agents.
Sure, anyone can do whatever they want with the stars, because they're not even hardly a race at this point. They're scattered like randomly
Right.
through the world. So
They're
sure.
kind of like heroic things, right? Legendary entities. Is
No,
that what
not
it is?
even. They're just things that are rare, but you might see
Oh.
one in your lifetime.
Right, so they're legendary entities.
They're not they're not legendary entities. They're just
Well, maybe one should be friends with one of those.
Well, you have knights that
Could use a
do-
name.
I mean,
I'm
they're
thinking
just-
it would be
they're
more
just-
of a star type thing. Anyway,
they're just people. They're immortal unless killed, and when they get killed, they get reincarnated with vague memories of their past life.
and when they're happy, they glow.
And when they're happy, they glow.
I like that.
Or when they're bound to a giant machine.
Is there a
Maybe
really
they're
like,
happy.
benevolent sort of knight that's still alive?
Or drugged.
You know, if you shock
They-
them,
I mean,
I think they get
Some
happy.
of them are more benevolent than others.
Who's
Knight of the
alive?
Peacock is graceful. Knight of the Moon is pure, but he's dead. Knight of the Raven is lawful.
How about Carlos? Is he bad guy?
Carlos, Knight of the Sun. Yeah, he's kind of glorious. Probably the most benevolent is the Knight of the Peacock right now.
You made yourself the most benevolent.
And graceful.
No, the most benevolent was the Knight of the Hound, and she's dead. Or the Knight of the Owl, and he's dead. Or the Knight of the Moon, and he's dead. Best you got is, well, Knight of the Phoenix is brave.
All the night the Phoenix didn't get in the shitty.
He's so jealous.
He's hanging out there.
He's She's totally whatever her positive trait. She's just been corrupted by like.
And sorry,
Oh,
what
I
did you say
hate
about
that
Esther?
Sir. What's his stupid name?
Well,
Anyway.
He's kind
Justin
of
of the
brave and
Rose.
Sir-
exciting.
Sir-
and-
Leonard.
Sir
Leonard.
Leonard. Leonard. I hate that Sir
I
Leonard.
need someone who's
Hate
sort
those,
of wise
those
and
phoenixes, and
kind.
she just like schemes for years to
Yeah,
kill
wise
the
would have
phoenixes.
been Sir
She's called Night of the
Restinese,
Phoenix
and
because she's got all this
kind
phoenix
would have been
plumage in her
Night of the Hound.
out of it.
Well, I could
All the
use a
phoenixes
star.
she's killed.
Have to be friend. Well, whatever.
Heaven for every
I
day.
don't need to know. Okay, so there's a star. Her name is Deanna, and she was traveling in this area. Whatever. And she came across the Skitka, who, as you will recall, are what do they call them?
Pygmies?
Pygmy type humanoid.
Make good slaves.
No, they would not make good slaves because they are.
They've been doing very well.
No, they have not, Brian, because they are very small, fierce, and tribal, and they're very fierce and very tribal.
Just gotta train them up.
Anyway, Deanna interacts with them, and she's had many negative interactions with them because they are. You can't train them.
Fierce
They're
and
too
tribal.
fierce.
Well, you gotta get them when they're cubs.
They're really vicious. No, even they bite you. No, they're really, really. That's part of their thing. They're really like vicious. They're a vicious race. Like just backstabbing nasties. Okay.
Biting, clawing, gnashing.
No, not like that. Anyway.
Well, that'll be like the race.
Deanna comes across these, and Deanna, in her travels, actually, she found it over here in this gardening area.
This was a gardening area.
This gardening area, which is where she fell. Yeah, she fell from this guy down over here. And she, somehow in her adventures, came across the Triforce. And so she's carrying it along with her as she goes around. And when she meets the Skitka, now I'm assuming she doesn't actually know what the relic actually does. But she's carrying it around with her because it's interesting and it's obviously powerful or something, shiny. Anyway, she's interacting with them and they end up capturing her and, you know, they're really vicious, so she figures they're going to eat her or something weird. They're not actually cannibalistic, but
It isn't a cannibalistic.
she's not
because-
human, so...
Oh, and
No.
the great thing about eating a star is it keeps coming back.
Mm.
That's true.
It's like
food
acid
source.
reflux forever. But anyway, she
You reincarnate somewhere
falls
randomly.
asleep one
It's a
night.
renewable food source.
Somehow she's been captured. I think they keep her as like a goddess on a chain or
Light
something.
source.
Yeah, light source.
Just
Keep her
like
happy.
C-3PO.
I'm scared of the dark.
Oh, now I can see.
Anyway, she sees the potential in them for great good, and yet they're so vicious. Okay, there's no potential, but she wishes. She falls asleep one night wishing and dreaming and wishing that something could be done for these people. And as she was traveling in the garden areas and in the edge of the forest, there's this, this species of cow that's sort of like a foresty cow. They're, you know those cows that they have in Central America that have like the,
Brahmin cows?
yeah. You guys don't know.
No,
much
that's
about cows,
India.
do you? No, they're in Central America too.
What?
Yeah, we were there. There's cows.
Okay.
Are you sure you didn't go to India?
No. You know, I couldn't understand what people were saying. Maybe it was India.
Were there Indians there?
Did they have dots?
No.
I'm sorry.
But they served as tacos type food, which is very exotic.
Anyway, careful.
There are cows.
These Indian cows are there.
They're really intelligent species of cows. They're just cows. They're very peaceful. And as Deanna falls asleep, she's thinking about these cows and how wouldn't it be nice if the Sitka were more like these cows. And when she wakes up in the morning, the world has changed all around her, and it's very strange. The Skitka are no longer the Skitka. They are now the Rama. R-A-M-A. And basically they're this race of pygmy-sized people, and they have a telepathic bond with an animal. They are born with it, and it has to be a fairly intelligent animal, or they won't bond with it. But basically, when a child is born, they have a specialized cradle that they've made, and they put a cow will come forward and choose the child when they're born, and then they put the child in the cow's back, and the child basically lives there. Like, they'll sometimes get off, but they basically almost never get off their cow for the rest of their life. Okay, but there's no pouch. And basically, because of this telepathic bond, the personality of both creatures influences each other, and particularly the personality of the animal influences the person, and so
They're slaves to the cows.
no, they're not slaves.
Cow slaves.
It's mutualism.
Well, this is a subway
So
thing,
slippery.
right? This is a subway thing, right?
It's a
So
symbiote.
there's still like slaves that the humans can get,
Okay.
right? The regular city.
There are no Skitka left,
But the humans have been
It's
using
the
them as
Triforce.
slaves.
but now they are no longer Skitka. They all have a telepathic bond that they can bond with an intelligent animal. The first
Think of it
really
as a
intelligent
two-for-one
animal.
deal.
I hope you're going to
Listen
compensate
to
the
me.
humans for the loss of value. of
The
this.
first really intelligent animal that they come across now, they will end up bonding with, and create like this lifelong bond, and their personality will be modified by this animal. So almost all of them are now this race of the Rama, the race of people with cows, and they're now very peaceful, very peaceful, very peaceful. You know, sort of
Cow
living
will.
life as it goes, thinking
Well,
things
easier to enslave
over.
them.
You know, kind of.
And they'll
people.
have work animals with them too.
Yeah, now the thing is, I set up Ethusia here as a slave raiding center.
Well, I've got a catastrophe coming.
We've got free catastrophe. You can use it right now.
Throw that
Don't
right
you have
down
two
in the
left
center of the forest.
Are you okay with me destroying your city? Because it really screws up my life. Is that an important city to you, Brian?
Well, no, the city isn't, but the slavery is. That's okay, I'll find
Well,
others.
the
There's Vikings,
Triforce
there's
is what
Vikings,
happens
there's
about it.
plenty-
I assume the
there's plenty of
humans
Vikings.
can enslave themselves.
Yeah, there's plenty of Vikings. We'll do Vikings.
And I'm
it's all right.
thinking if a human is separated from their, or if a Rama is separated from their cow after about the age of 2, they will die. Because
Okay.
they miss their cow so much.
Well, they're crappy slaves now. Go ahead and
Yeah,
blow
they
up.
really are. So,
it's
however,
basically
if they're
symbiosis.
2 or younger, then some people say there's a possibility to take them away and get them to bond with another animal, but they have to be bonded with an animal or they won't live. And they can't just be bonded with like another, you couldn't bond them with a human or whatever. It has to be, you know, sort of a four-footed
Okay,
kind of
well, go ahead and blow up that city.
Quadruped.
I won't blow.
Has to be a
But,
quadruped.
but they're gonna die from economic collapse.
No.
Good for them.
What?
They sort
Wait,
of
why would they die from economic
Because
collapse?
they're scrappy slaves.
So how much does that cost like, to do?
They
like,
slave humans.
So you've made a.
Yeah, but there's no humans in there.
They slave.
I
Okay,
used
I
the
guess I'll
tribe as
move
well.
It's feudal.
So make a
There's
race so you can
slaves.
slave that race.
There's-
Say the Triforce
Excellent.
modify.
Okay,
Right.
never mind.
So
I mean,
that's
human
like
lands-
the cost of
Human
creating
lands
a
are
slave.
probably-
I get a bonus.
But it's not really
and
separate
slave
because I
elves,
changed
right?
the whole thing.
Oh, you
The
do
whole race.
actually.
Basically,
Yeah.
I changed
Oh, not the.
Yeah,
not
you
the-
could just
no.
do a race for using the Triforce.
You could enslave the other elves.
Like
These are
make
the
a
lame
race?
But
elves.
these elves, no. Other
Okay.
people do not. These
You
aren't.
don't get a
These aren't
bonus, but you
Destiny's.
still can.
These aren't
Yeah.
Destiny's punching bags.
No,
That's the
that's okay. I'll go after the Vikings.
I'm pretty sure even last time Robin said those guys
It's
weren't
okay,
very
you
good
can-
to
you-
enslave. So
No, I
this
definitely
slaving
Yeah.
town is probably not doing very good already.
Yeah.
They're terrible slaves.
They like set up
I-
this
But they
town
don't
and
have-
then they're
they
like,
don't
oh,
have,
this
like, a
sucks.
culture of slavery. or
Well, I
anything. They just
imagine
kill
that
their animals.
humans are a very feudal society.
Yeah.
Like they sort of have their own little fiefdoms and city-states. So that estate pretty much slaves other humans.
I assume they were slaving
For a
themselves.
bit, in
Oh,
all
yeah.
honesty, the wild elves would probably be pretty easy to catch because for a while they're really shitty at living with the land.
Mm.
It's okay.
But after a while, it's actually going to be
Yeah.
very, very hard to just find them, right? Because
that
you're
could
going to
be
be.
good motivation for it. But it's okay. I'm not going after them. I'm going after the Vikings.
No, if I want some humans to eventually
Vikings will get themselves
come
back.
back,
It's only
become
fair.
desert
Yeah,
humans,
yeah,
I have to
yeah.
first get
It
influence
wasn't.
with humans in order to move up.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
So how do I do
I
that?
mean, we
You
can't.
pay influence
Eventually, we'll
plus
run
6
out of
months.
slaves to free.
Okay, then I just make up.
And you could just pay it, but you should come up with a reason,
Yeah.
like a religion found. And the reason doesn't even have to be what you do with them. Like you could just be like, I'm a religion found, and I'm related to that. But but I mean, if it's related, that's even better,
A
right?
merchant comes to one of the human communities. How about this one? And one amongst his wares is this book, this fairly large tome,
Oh,
and
hang on.
it's
Are
full.
you going to found an anti-slavery religion?
No.
Okay, good. 'Cause I need
We
to
already
do that.
have one of
We're going
those.
to do that in the third
Yeah.
age. and I need that.
He has this book, and it's full of the history of this glorious race called the Oompa. It's all about, it's this history of this amazing thing. And so a small group of humans from this area, I guess I just need influence, becomes, really obsessed with learning about the Oompa. And any information they can find about them, they're like,
Ooh, a group of secret scholars.
obsessed.
Yeah.
They're not, it's not a secret. They're not a secret. They're obsessed.
That's an awkward
with it.
handshake.
What's
Giant secret.
It would all be obvious on the street. Like, well, how are you doing? doing, Jim? I'm doing good.
Would you like some gum? So, I'm going to spend one of my catastrophes.
Oh.
Oh, don't kill my cow.
No, it's unrelated to your cow people.
I love
So,
them so much. I love them.
I like that.
Some sort of force of chaos and corruption actually manages to rise up out of the chasm here,
Uh-oh.
and they destroy Greywall.
Which one?
The one I pointed
The
at.
first one.
Oh.
You know, Grey
Great Wall.
And
The Oblin are
in the ruins of Greywall, the Oblin that live there are corrupted by this force, and they are transformed into a new race,
I love this.
the Goblins.
Oh, nice.
And they are exactly how you'd expect goblins to be. They're
But are they like rock looking though, like the Oblin?
yeah, they would look similar to Oblin, except a lot grosser.
Instead of crystalline, they'd be more lumpish.
Yeah, I just want to imagine them as like goblin in shape, but they look rocky or something.
Whereas the Oblin look vaguely crystalline.
instead of crystals or
So-
granite and stuff.
Like,
So,
It's a good thing you've got a backup
She has
Grey
such a
Wall
big
now.
stone.
Yeah, well, goblins are pretty weak.
I guess.
and also.
I guess all the foreigners around there are probably screwed. Oh no, they're attacking Grey Wall.
and so yeah, there's goblins.
No, Grey Wall.
Flee, everyone, flee to Grey Wall.
I'm in Grey Wall.
Grey Wall's the only safe place. Flee Grey Wall.
So
Maybe that was a catastrophe.
I'm gonna double corrupt the goblins.
Yes.
What?
He double corrupted them.
I'm double corrupting.
There's
Not
still a bunch of Oblins.
Yeah, they got Grey Wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good thing that they're like uber lawful and not given to emotion, or they'd be a bit twinged right
The
now.
goblins are extremely chaotic. Like
They were born of the primordial chaos.
they're the opposite of the Oblin in that regard. The Oblin are paragons of law. The goblins are paragons of chaos.
I like it. Well done.
Now we know what Robin's character race is going to be.
I'm gonna be a cow person. No,
Ooh, spoilers.
I'm not gonna be a cow person
Okay.
because they can't go into a cave. They're on a cow. It's not gonna
I
work.
have one that was raised on a bat.
It's anyway, intelligent animal, right? There's possibilities.
Yeah, but most of them are on the cows. I'm thinking like there'll be a few here and there, or rumors of, but it's not going to.
Yeah.
Well, I was originally thinking it wouldn't be common. So if you want to take them and
You done?
Breed them.
breed them,
Yeah.
Okay.
Eric, turn.
Alrighty. So the elves refound the city of Alamut. Just an FYI, if anybody ever wants to do bad stuff to Alanway again, go for it. I'm willing to. I'm quite happy for the elves to keep refounding this place because, you know,
It'll have layers.
yes.
the last thing that
They
destroyed
build
was
it
the
on
wave.
top of. In fact, they do build it on top of the ruins of the first Allenway.
Was it the wave that destroyed them, or it was the gnomes?
Actually, I guess there's two layers of tragedy. Yeah, because first the gnomes, then the tidal wave came over. Now, using that nice fertile thing, you know, very good for gardening out
Yes.
there. So, you know.
Floodplain.
So they refound Allenway. They're using the bones of the earth at this point just quite liberally. They're trying to weave in that to help defend the city, mystically and otherwise. Also at this point, the Spellblades that are out there, they start getting enough recruits and enough numbers that they actually they become army status. It's kind of, they can sort of appear in any of the Elvish cities. But they're off around, usually policing things. They're starting to become a rift between the Spellblade people and civilization, the Elvish civilization, because the Spellblades are trying to stop the corruption of from what came from the east, and more of the High Elves are just like, oh no, hey, look at all this great knowledge we have, and so there's this big conflict between the two. Alright, so that's 7. Also rebuilding the ships, because they all got nuked by the tidal wave. So there's now. I was thinking a bit before that the tidal wave knocked their quarter ships down to an army,
Yeah.
and now it's back to being a war.
Okay.
It's 10. And.
Did you drink the heat up? I'm finding it pretty cold.
I'm hot.
Oh. What do other people feel?
I'm wearing
Like,
sweat.
slight chill doesn't actually harm me.
I'm wearing a sweater and long johns.
Shiva.
Well, that's a problem.
Would the humans,
My temperature
would the
is
humans
regulated.
be okay with having a major Elvish trade city nearby?
Sure.
I'm about
Who are you trading?
I'm about to build a Mongol trade city.
Trade with them, they're wanting.
But go ahead.
I don't know if that's contradictory. That might work well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Over in the garden area, the elves make the city of Valvania.
Spell it.
VAL, one word, and then Vanya, VANYA.
Which race was it that became best at trading?
The elves.
Oh, okay.
And this is going to be like, it's even though it's just formed, because it's positioned really close to the humans and right across the way from the big, what is it? Levees? It's not levees.
The tree.
The canal, yes. The
Oh,
canal.
yes.
That it's in a good position. It's going to rise quickly. It's an uppercomer. That's it.
Alright.
I missed the part. What is it that's up and coming?
Trade city.
Albania.
Elven trade city.
Oh, elves.
Yes. I asked who they were trading, but Charge himself. Oh, middling.
Brian, don't take a point away. I'll just take a point off mine. You gave me a point.
Oh,
remember?
so let's get it back.
Yeah, I'll just take it off
Okay.
mine this time.
Alright, no longer road. Okay, so that's 5 plus 9 is... I got 12 in total. Let us create the Vrock. The Vrock are... They were always sort of around, but, you know, with the collapse of the Umquap, now there's all these empty Umquap cities. Here and here specifically. This one isn't so empty. The Vrock are a race of vulture-like humanoids. They can fly. There's
They're
Umquap City
scavengers.
there and Umquap City there.
And they're both of them?
And, well, the Vrock just sort of lived in this area, but there was a very minor concern. But now, all of a sudden, there's these empty cities. And, yes, they're a race of scavengers. They move in, essentially. And they are obsessed with collecting the detritus of these fallen civilizations. They're not clever, they're not, you know, they don't really understand magic well and all that sort of stuff. But they know that the knowledge is valuable, so they collect it even though they don't understand it. Their cities, built in the ruins, are, you know, wretched piles of bones and leather and stuff like that. But they love building them in these ruins of fantastical towers and stuff like that. So, yeah, their cities are kind of a hodgepodge of that. And yeah, they live in that area. And they don't get on well with the Warforged, because the Warforged are in this awesome ruined Umquat city that they would just love to get their claws on. But every time they try and go there, the Warforged, you know, hit them on the head until they die. So you see the problem they have. Alright, so that was one race. Let me see what I do next. I am going to... That's got 8 points.
give you free influence with the ponies if that's what you want.
Yay! Okay.
Why? Is it Brian?
Well, because Brian really wants to do stuff with the ponies, and I have absolutely no plans for them. I just wanted to make them in a certain way. That's like my only plan for them was I wanted to make them in a certain way, and now I'm done with them. I don't care what happens to them.
Alrighty. Well, in that case, I will advance them in the druidic arts.
Oh, by the way, but you must call them the Ponin.
The Ponin. I will advance the Ponin in the druidic arts.
Do you have? What about influence with the other colorful races?
I don't care.
I'll give out I'll give out influence to each one of those for free if you want. If someone wants influence with one of those races, you can ask me. The Pooch are not a race. They were just a described city. So they're just pets.
I have a moderately interesting idea for the
I
side.
wanted to involve the
That
poop.
was-
Sure. Yeah, I didn't really have much idea for them at all.
It was a
So,
slug character.
if you want influence with science, go ahead.
Okay, take it.
And I think I will bank my remaining 3.
No one ever
Yeah, I think I'll bank my remaining 3.
I'd have to recommend that you don't do any adventuring in the salt skeg.
Well,
Alright.
sea slugs.
5, 8. I'm going to forget what I was going to do.
Okay, that cost all your points. My turn.
So what did you do, Brian?
Okay,
I
I'm
created
going
the rock.
to.
Yeah, I knew that.
And
What did you do with the pony?
I advanced them in the druidic arts.
Okay.
They are
You'll have
extremely
to tell me
at
what
growing
this is so I know
things.
how much how
Awesome.
many points to take off. But
Step
The,
1 is my plan to
um,
fix everything.
the Yunnan, in the city name that I can't actually say, Anantaneg.
Nananag?
Oh, it's ANANTNAG.
Anantanag.
Yeah.
Nananag.
There's all this river that comes and goes, but they found something, 2 springs that were constant, and they happen to have weird kind of mystical, magical abilities. One is the fountain of truth, and one is the fountain of untruth.
Fountain of lies? Or
No,
did you prefer the fountain of untruth?
Untruth.
That's fine.
Where is this again?
It's in the valley.
I'd say that's an event. So
Oh, 7. Okay, I can do that.
that's fairly expensive. It is fairly expensive for what it is. I just
Yeah.
call it 5.
Okay.
I don't think anyone's ever used an event.
I kind of.
I've never used an event.
Yeah.
I mean, I did. I turned it into a create race because I created the doppelgangers, but really it was kind of an event.
Yeah, an event.
Same with
I mean,
mine.
yeah, it's sort of. Maybe we should have sort of 2 classes, like because event could do quite a bit. That's why it's so expensive, right?
Okay.
Maybe we should have 2 classes. Like maybe we should have like a small event and like a big event, and like a big event is 7 and 7, but a small event is like say 4 and
I
4.
mean, the example is pretty banal, like gold mine found.
Yeah.
Like that's more expensive than creating a race.
Yeah.
I guess it's yeah. Let's say a small event like Friday, these fountains or whatever is 4 and 4. A big event I'd say like beings from another big plane of existence is a fairly big event is 7 and 7. I don't know. Whatever. We'll make it up.
And then I'd like to, I can't purify civilization, so I'll just purify that city. Actually, no, I want to make it neutral. Never mind. I'll just keep my
Oh, those labor guys that are just putting, what are they? Are they like a minus something?
The slaver guys, which the humans?
Yeah.
They're -2 in terms of corruption.
When you create them,
Yeah.
you can +1
They're
or
quite
-1 there.
Oh, look at them. Oh, I
So-
can minus them.
They're very
Oh,
effective
minus
too.
them. By the way.
5.
Who did you create?
I guess that's not that much below average.
Well, I didn't really create them
No,
yet.
you gained influence.
I gained
over it.
influence.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, that's different. So
So I'm gonna. I don't know what to consider this. Probably. I'm just going to describe something about reality. I'm just going to call this an event, which only cost me
Big
4, which is
event?
good because I can pay for it.
Small event.
Well, you guys can judge.
Yeah.
This, so magic was wiped out, and then people relearned it from books, right? And over time, like maybe this isn't right now, but like over time, people start to think, even if this isn't necessarily reality, they start to think that there's these three types of magic from the three main races. And whether it's true or not is another matter, but whatever. And so, and each particular type of magic, you get trained. You use that type of magic, and that affects what type of implement you cast your spells through. So, to replicate the second brain, the Ood magic, you have an orb. So when you cast orb magic, you're casting Ood magic because you learn from Ood magic books, right?
So how could you wizard this?
The Penoblin use staves. So when you cast, so wizards or whatever who cast from a staff, they learn how to cast their stuff from the Penoblin. That's Penoblin magic. And the Undqua use tomes, and I guess I'll also make them the ones who used wands. So they use tomes and wands. So people who learn to use tomes and wands as their implements, because in 4th edition, everyone who casts magic uses arcane magic uses an implement. If you use a tome or a wand, then you're casting Undqua magic. And so there is some truth to it in the sense that like typically like that's how they learned it, right? So if you find an old Undqua book and learn to cast magic, you're going to learn to cast magic with a tome or a wand. And if you find an old Penoblin book, you're going to learn with a staff. And if you find an Ood one, you're going to learn with an orb. The magics aren't fundamentally different, really. It's just sort of the different methods and styles. But still, you get trained in one way. So
How about the Oompa are tomes, and then wands can be for like
Somebody else.
other
But then I will ruin my joke.
You're Umquad wizard, Harry.
all right. Well, we could say there isn't.
Mini stabs, so just have them.
Why don't we just say there aren't wands right now? And so,
It'll be another magical race.
yeah, if another magical race
Because
comes up, wands
Oompa
will
would
come.
not have used wands.
Anyone who uses wands was taught by Eris the fairy.
Except, I think
She's got a fairy one.
Why can't it just be just something
does
that's
have
developed
one.
later?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now there is no wand magic.
Maybe.
So 4 points for an event for that.
Sure.
That's reasonable.
Alright.
Okay, and that bankrupts me because I rolled really poorly and I had a debt. So I'm done.
One definitely seems like a fae sort of.
Yeah.
Well,
Elf
I even
form,
mentioned
imagine.
she uses a wand.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't seem enough to spawn a whole school of magic, so we'll just leave it for now, and maybe wands will develop later, or maybe they never will, and maybe it won't matter because no player will play a wand-carrying wizard, so don't even need wands.
Can I be a fairy?
You have to create fairies first.
Oh.
Yeah, great pixies.
I was planning on making.
There's actually a pixie race in 4th edition that flies. It has a maximum height of one square.
How about unseaweed court?
I was planning on making the fairies be the force of chaos that escaped from the pit. Basically, they were the best people in the chaotic land. Which doesn't make them great. No, they were the most good out of all the chaotic races, which makes them kind of maybe -1 or 0. And that's why they tried to escape. And then they broke free and created the goblins on their way out because they.
You could use my
They're fun.
fairy to help that happen at -1.
Yeah, but I'm not going to do that right now. You can do that if you like. You can take that out.
Other stuff.
Yeah, so do I.
Maybe they had to create the goblins in order to escape.
Yeah.
Well, the way I described it is, it was just like this horrible, just energy or force that came out and corrupted the goblin.
Maybe that was chasing them. Or maybe that big horrible
Maybe.
force came up and corrupted the goblin, and they're like, hey, there's a way out of here? Screw this, we're
Yeah.
out of here.
Mm.
And they followed in the wake of that stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, if I do create that race, that's when they came. But okay, so right now, with the help of Sir Leonard, the mongrels create a sprawling city around the feet of the.
Yes. Never had anyone say category of the neck before.
Around the feet of the pomegranate tree. It's a great big trade city.
You can trade back and forth. Yeah.
Let's call it.
The escaped slaves can trade with the slavers.
You're a tiger.
Areas
You're a
else.
tiger.
I think the elves at this point, by the way, although officially would have problems with
Giraffe.
slave trading, unofficially they've gotten the gold bug, so I think we could probably make some arrangements.
All right.
If you give them a big enough insult, then they may be insulted enough to agree to your terms. No. So,
What just happened?
John tried to make a joke and none of us understood it.
Oh.
I was actually ripping off a joke from the Mikado, but it's just the guy said.
And that's the only one who was there, and I was.
Well, no, I thought it would be more obvious, but I guess it wasn't
What? I missed it.
because like when you give someone a
You
bribe,
didn't
you give someone a bribe, it's an insult. Are you going to insult me? Well, if your insult is big enough, then I suppose that I might agree to your terms.
Okay, I'm gonna advance the.
Sorry, I guess I thought that my train there was a lot of stuff going on in my head that I thought was obvious to the general populace, but apparently wasn't.
I'm gonna advance the mongrels
I had
to
to hear it
become the
first.
most resourceful and ingenious race. They're jacks of all trades, essentially. They've got this basic optimism. They're like, I can do anything, and as a result, they usually can. Maybe not as well as the people who are, good at doing it, but they're half elves. I mean, half stuff.
Halves.
They're half humans, so they're they'll pick up anything and figure it out. And if they can't figure it out, they'll patchwork something together, and they'll they get her done. So they're the most ingenious and resourceful race. And I'm going to advance their city. And basically what happens, I'm going to advance it specifically, there's something called the Grand Mask. Now, when Wayne City broke up, they still basically got this city and this army. It didn't go anywhere, except it got split into all these various different traveling Waynes that are all fairly heavily armed. Like, you can't take on a gnomish Wayne without being pretty hefty yourself. And every 3 years, they gather at let's call this town.
Do you need a random word?
Possibly that.
Baghdad?
I have a list in the front if you were just flying through that.
Crossroads.
This is like a.
How about name after? Just carry on.
Yeah, name after. Sorry.
Living
Every 3 years, the gnomes. The gnomes have to keep their civilization going, and they have to get back together.
How about Sea Tour?
Name after.
When they found out about, and basically, the Phoenix are the best at performing arts and the best at being elegant and pretty, and the gnomes just can't get enough of that. So they really admire and love the Phoenix. It's like everyone wants a Phoenix at their parties in Gnomeville. So basically, every 3 years, this is where the gnomes regather to, scheme together and plot together and have parties, and you all live on a Wayne, so you've got to trade sons and daughters in marriage, or you're going to inbreed. So they have this huge thing called the Grand Mask, and they get the Phoenixes to put on a big show, and they all pretend the Mongols don't exist, and it is the place to be if you are in any way a diplomat, a merchant, a spy, an assassin. All of this wheeling and dealing happens at the Grand Mask. If you don't have an invitation, you forge one. If yours isn't forged well enough, they'll kick you out. Mm-hmm. And it all happens every 3 years. And there's a constant gnome presence in the city, and there's always intrigue and diplomacy going on. But when the Grand Mask happens, it just kicks it into high gear.
So the gnomes are actually wandering all over the earth?
Yeah,
Gypsies.
like there are a whole bunch of them still in Gnome Land.
They're
But,
like gypsies everybody likes.
Yeah, they're gypsies who
High class.
you have to mind. Yeah, they're high class gypsies.
High charisma.
They come by and you find out what all the latest fashions are,
Okay.
and sometimes a bone eater will kill you.
A boat?
Yeah.
Bone eaters? No, bone eaters. You might have missed out on. They. The reason that the codex is called the Bones of the Earth is that when the gnomes sacked Allenway, when the gnomes sacked Allenway, they stole a whole bunch of the codex and they called it the Bones of the Earth. And then the gnomes who studied it were driven mad by studying it, and they were called the Bone Eaters. And they're this kind of secretive assassin sect, very creative and to get influence.
Okay.
They're very ugly, and they also do plastic surgery.
Or vivisection, or...
Yeah.
So say that their satchels are knockoff brands. They're not real.
But
And
so the
of course-
wandering way, were they the Waynes?
Yeah.
Yeah, they still believe in their gnomish like pretending thing and like.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Stealing
They're
names
still
and-
all about that.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
It's just
But they
that
wear
they've
masks.
decided to take it on the road.
Yeah.
And you know,
Okay.
and of course, if
so
you
really,
want,
they're doppelgangers like all over the world now.
by now, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there are doppelgangers all over the world, and there are gnomes everywhere.
You know, doppelgangers in a society where everyone wears masks. They're probably really, their shape-shifting muscles are really flat.
Well, you see, the thing is that the gnomes all wear masks. But when a gnome gets up in the morning, he has 5 servants to dress him. But first, he has to spend an hour getting ready for his servants to come in, so that when they carry the stories about what he looks like to all of the other gnomes, they carry a good story. You know, it's like everything they do is about making, building a face, and making a name for themselves. They're ridiculous.
So because they're traveling and they're all about making a name for themselves, is there like a real like where have you been sort of thing with them? Like if they've traveled the farthest or if they've been to certain places,
Oh yeah,
like it
Like-
becomes like a
So is there geocaching?
it's best to be good looking or elegant, but they're the warlike gnomes are warlike so that their names will increase. The trader gnomes are traders so that their names will increase. If you
I've been to this Icemer town.
There's nobody there.
do they leave something like if they've been somewhere, do they mark it in some way to show that they've been there? So
We
that
lost
when
a lot
other
of
gnomes
money
go
there.
they're
Yeah.
like, oh, so
I've been to the ice.
yeah,
I've been to the
gnomish
ice town.
calligraphy
Oh,
is
who did
kind
you
of
talk
famous.
to?
They
Oh, I
spend
talked
a lot
to the
of
Duke.
time
Oh, that's interesting.
Working
Since
on
the
to
city is abandoned, take him away.
Alright.
And of course, it's great shame on your town if a gnomish Wayne just kind of rolls on by, maybe makes a point of actually knocking over a building on the way through, just to let you know that you don't exist.
All right. Did you have anything else?
That's
Okay. Let's see what I'll do. 9 plus 5 is 14. So I can do all kinds of mischievous things for 14. Well, I think this is a good opportunity to gain influence over the Nameless and send them to become the Finns.
Go Finland!
Go Finland. So that'll be 6 points. I think.
If you have
I wanted to
nameless,
make
by
sure.
the way, because the Codex, the Bones of the Earth, they had some of the Bones of the Earth. You can probably take some of them and then you can use it because it's a legendary entity that spreads virally. So if you want some of that in your civilization, you can use it and you can get
What
nice
is
ones and
it?
stuff.
What does it do?
It's the recording of all the knowledge from over the seas.
Oh,
like-
and that's the evil knowledge.
yes, that's what the spellblades believe. Although
Okay.
the high elven culture right now is like, no, what are you talking about? It's just
fine.
there's good stuff in here.
Yeah, it's like alchemy and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like the Nameless are going to become a technological sort of people. So they'll build things. They'll build fine mechanical things, and they'll be good at mechanics and if they were ever to get the technology to make cell phones, they would definitely do that.
So keep in mind that their defining attribute as a race was humility.
Humility, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess they run all of the underworkings of all the cities. There's tends to be brown robes around somewhere, making sure that all of the drains flush.
Yeah, I think they can make their own cities, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't think that's
Yeah.
against the idea of humility, but as sort of a country of their own,
They're good at technology.
they'll be good at technology,
Yeah, that'd work.
and so they'll spread out into Fenland, and they'll also be great fishing, since that's what Fenland's all about. So let's make a city over there somewhere. I think that would be the correct command here. to get them to split off from the gnomes. Or I guess they have some kind of settlement over here already.
Yeah,
but,
that's their main city right now. It's called Shantytown. It's not a shantytown anymore, but that was its name, and they don't really feel the need to mess with names much. They're like,
right.
other people can call us what they like. We know who we are.
Yeah, they probably don't think of it as having a name. That's just what other people call it. Like
What's
crappy
going on
shit,
here?
yeah.
Okay with you? Or?
It says,
Those are like
Oh, geysers and hot
Geysers.
springs. Geysers and hot
But
springs.
isn't there text there?
yeah, it
Yeah.
says.
It's like
Fumerals, maybe?
No.
Something? I know that there was a lot
hydrothermal.
of hydrothermal.
Hydrothermal.
Okay.
Yeah, that area. Yeah, right. That area is. So the volcanoes are here, but this whole area is very hydrothermally, full of geysers and bubbling pools. And
So it'd make like steam tech.
Ooh, steam tech. Steam tech. Nameless gnomes. We don't
Nameless
know.
gnomes.
All right, I will have them settle in the crook of a lake here, and
They need to have monocles with runes on them.
and let's see,
Maybe one of
what
the
shall
ones
we
in
name?
there give them the secrets to the technology.
What should we name that city? They're humble, so they'll name it. Well, what was it like the?
You can come up
Town
with
of the people by the strait. No, that's not good.
Names,
I got
let's
names
do
here.
names later.
why don't you just use the Finnish word for humble?
I could do that.
Yeah. Or
I was thinking of naming them like Finnish city names, but translated back into English. Like maybe,
we can come up with the names.
yeah. Name later. All
Name
right,
later.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's already 9 o'clock. We haven't got through legends yet.
So that was like create kingdom.
Yeah, which is like a subrace. That's the same as create subrace.
Yeah. Well, I guess I didn't really need influence to do that, but or was that command civilization to found the city because they already existed?
Oh right, yeah, probably command civilization makes
Okay.
sense. Yeah, because your
So-
first thing was the first thing about them becoming tech or whatever.
Yeah.
That was their influence, right?
Yeah. I did an influence and a command civilization, so I still have 4 points. And I guess I could create another city. Let's make that, I guess, across the lake from Alawandi or whatever it is.
Allenway.
Allenway?
Yes.
Okay. We'll call that something as well.
The second city of Allenway. The first one burned down, sank into this one.
And that's all my points.
And
So
burned down.
yeah, I made the halflings be the Finns, and now they're technological. Well, I guess I didn't actually get to advance their civilization and technology. That'll be next turn.
Yeah, so they're not.
technological, but they're not best at technology.
Yeah,
they're not really good at it yet, but they've sort of like they start to.
that
that's
seems
like
to be
their
their
focus.
direction. Yeah.
Okay, so I had a group of humans here, and how do you say it? I can't read it.
Ethusia.
Ethusia. They became really obsessed with Umpqua history. I want them to grow in number and become, a fairly large group of people who are going to separate from this community and take their slaves and, reunite themselves.
Oh,
Go out here where the
they'll have to wrestle with the rocks.
Yes. So probably what they'll do is they'll send some scouts first, some small parties that will go to try to collect more information about Umpqua history. They'll come across the rocks, they'll come back and spread tales, and then I guess they'll need to build, a fighting force if they're going to come and occupy Saturn. So can people help me point-wise? What would that be? So I just had a small group of people. I just had influence. Well,
Well, if
yeah,
you-
I
if
just
you-
had influence, and now I want to create a large group
Then
of
you
people.
can use command civilization.
Oh, I can do that now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that you have influence over that.
So, yeah, I'm not taking all these people, but just some of them.
Yeah.
So I need an army, and then I'll come and make a city.
Okay, so you pay for an army and then you can pay for a
So
city.
it's 4 and
And-
4. I think.
The the Vrock don't have an army, so if,
Oh,
you,
they don't?
if you
So
bring
if
an
I go
army
there-
over there, you'll probably be able to clear them out. But they're not gonna like it. There's gonna be Vrock that keep nipping at your flanks.
Are the Varrock evil?
No,
And it's got to be-
They're vultures.
So they form an army, and the city they found is in the Unclaw place.
Yeah, they're gonna call it Saturn.
Is it on top of the?
Yeah, it's in the ruins of Saturn. SADR.
Being someone that's built a city on top of another city, I
Yeah.
approve.
And they take their slaves with them. They
Can
are
I destroy it and make the area like cursed?
my place? No, but you can do that.
Over here.
Oh wait, no, that's Warforged. You can do that over
There's no
That's-
city
that's
on
the-
top of the city.
that's the only Vrock city.
It's okay, I won't. do
You
it.
can do it way later,
You
but
could have
let
the
them
Vrock find out about
exist
the
for a
panel.
while. At least let them build some
That's true, I
stuff.
suppose. There'll be a sort of
Okay, ding.
whenever
Okay.
there's fallen civilizations, it's like roaches. They'll start showing.
So, the sign. Where are the Scions living?
they're in amongst the humans.
Okay. Well,
Can you spell
I
that?
don't know
city?
exactly how the humans are
SADR.
thinking of them yet.
probably
old
rather
Umpqua.
poorly.
First city.
And I
they're
imagine.
not, they're not xenophobes like the
Yeah.
It was a small group of people
Well,
from
dwarves.
the
Yeah,
slavers.
that being said-
Slaver humans.
They think they look silly.
Yeah, the Scions, they want to get away.
All
I
right.
could come with sand.
And,
sand mages.
They've taken notice of this floating island, and they want to go live there.
I'm not-
John had plans for that. That's
I
all
do
right.
too. Yeah, but
That's fine.
So that they
Well, I don't have to
We're
do
running out of
They
empty
are.
places.
No. I don't have to do this.
You can do it.
You can do it.
well, if I don't get the floating island, that means I can't do my thing because it has to be there. Otherwise, it wrecks Brian's thing.
Can you use that island? No one's over there.
I just thought the Scions living on the floating island would be cool because it seems appropriate, but I don't have to do that.
Oh, you could send them to the Sargasso.
Not a,
That's kind of.
I'd like, yeah, if you don't care that much, I'd like to keep the floating
Yeah,
island because I have a plan for it.
That's
and, and I can't execute it anywhere else really.
Okay, that's fine.
but this island's completely unoccupied.
Yeah.
No one's done anything with it. So that would be a good place.
Volcanic.
Oh, did you hear about
Oh, only it's like hydrothermal, so it's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice
she?
volcano.
She's the she and her family live right here. It's like a
Right. But that's not the Tau Rock, right? No,
No,
Tau
no,
Rock
that,
lives
they're
in
over there.
Saltstake.
Yeah.
Well, okay, the
You
Scions.
helped create some
Aren't those Star Slavers?
Yeah, I corrupted them.
The Scions will. They will take a while for them
Is
to
the
get
Tau
there,
Rock
but
living
over
over
time they migrate, and they end up over
They were
here.
-2 to begin with.
And they create a kingdom of
They're
high towers.
Yeah, they're more organized.
And yeah, it's a tower-based city. It's going to be called ASAC, A-A-S-A-C.
Isaac.
Yeah, ASAC,
Can you say it again?
A-A-S-A-C.
ASI.
So yeah, it's tall. I guess basically like Sharn, except more weird and mystical. So that's 4 points.
I know what it is.
So the 10 points to spend. Boyhawk is being occupied by the humans right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's a human settlement. I guess there's dwarves around. They've been. How do they make good? Do they make good slaves?
Anyone makes good slaves if you hit him enough.
Okay. There's
No.
probably dwarvish
The
slaves
Rana
there.
don't make it. That's not true. Some people don't make good slaves. That's
Probably
why
not a
they.
huge
That's
number
why
of
they
them. I
imported
imagine that
slaves
they
from
fought
Africa.
pretty hard.
because the
Yeah,
Central
they're still
Americans
xenophobic.
didn't
They
really
wouldn't
do it
do so well at
because
that.
they'd had a slave
The dwarves want their tongue back.
based culture.
Well, I still have an army here, and there's
Yeah.
fortifications. So
Does anybody recall what the state of the Dwarven army is like?
I
Is it
think-
army or
I
horde or
think it
what?
was at army level, but I don't remember specifically.
Well, let's assume that, and let's raise them up to a horde,
All right.
and let's let them attempt to take back Voyok.
All right. Well, the humans only have an army level army in defense.
They do have the
They are
defensive
warlike.
stuff,
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
fortifications, so that's gonna
and they're warlike.
make it pretty.
They're the best at war.
They're
so-
best at war. So this is a pretty big chunk you're trying to bite.
Yeah.
A big apple you're trying to.
It is.
So I don't know. We could say.
Well, let's let's scale back a bit and let's let the dwarves
So I got
instead
these.
try to bust up the fortification.
These are
Well, I was gonna say you
caps.
could have like a
What you do is you tie a knot and then you
one
thread the
before
knot
you
so the
take
knot
it,
sits
5
here.
and 6, you
I
know.
have some glue that
Or
we
so the
can
other way around.
put and
Yeah,
secure the
okay.
knot.
Could
and
do that.
Sure.
Then you close it
or
and
if
around
you
the
want
knot.
to do the slow route, you can start
Oh,
breaking
you
the
didn't need a
fortifications.
No, I
And
don't.
then
This
next
class
time
doesn't work.
around, you do
Oh,
need
okay.
to
Yeah.
Let's,
I got this
let's do the roll.
Okay.
5 and 6. They
I
take
don't
it.
understand what you
Rest
mean
of
by
them.
that, so you're just understanding me.
6.
Like,
Take
maybe
it.
we should do it.
Alright.
That was a surprising turn. Oh. So,
Because I'm gonna
Voyhawk
miss
is
a lot
now
if
named
I'm-
Voyhawk.
Oh. Do you need to think while you string?
Yeah.
Oh.
Alright, and that leaves me with 2 points to spare, so
Thank you.
Remind me and I'll bring the glue if
I
I had
will
to, I had to buy more.
corrupt the goblins one step further.
Okay.
Oh, they're at -3 now.
Yeah. Do we have a raise?
They're worse than humans.
I
They really are.
that was
They're worse
really
than the
nice.
salt dragons.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're the worst.
Yeah, minus
So-
3.
So the horrible salt dragons, the rich scourge of the north,
Yeah.
were as bad as humans.
Yeah.
Some things.
Okay.
So it's my turn.
Yeah.
That's my stuff.
The Spellblade army, by the way, I didn't say it. It was in my head, but I'm saying it.
Yeah.
It is an army, but it's relatively few. They're high-level adventure-y type people.
Yeah.
So even if there are 200 of them, still the fact that you have 200 15th level plus people, that's much better than just like, thousands of mooks, basically, or comparable to thousands of mooks. Also, the Wild Elves at creation bumping up their purity by 1, because they were born out of a pure sort of notion of trying to divest themselves of corruption.
So that makes them +2.
I think +3, because
Okay.
elves are compassionate and kind and something
It's
else.
nice that we're finally developing some good in this world.
Hey!
Um,
The Vikings and the elves
Yeah.
are good, and
That's true. It's
Mongols
just
are
Valvania,
good,
the
Phoenixes are
gateway to
good.
the
like
world.
that's been your good. It's just the bad. has
It
been really
becomes
bad.
the best in the world at magic as a city.
Well, there you go. Wands.
They practice high sorceries, stuff that they learned basically from the Ood and stuff because the Spellblades took some of that so that they'd be orb wielders. But the whole city is also built to amplify magics of people inside the city. So it's one of those
Just the way
things.
to, like, form
Oh, they're gonna ash themselves.
while they're there.
They're asking.
Yeah,
What do you mean?
Asking for trouble.
That hadn't crossed my mind.
Brian laughed at that one.
You, I made that one. Well, we both simultaneous.
And great magical spell schools are there. The first spell schools to actually, unless the Phoenixes pay for it, they can eclipse at least in magical power them because they're the best in the world right
The
now.
Phoenixes don't claim any magical.
Also, at this point, the High Elves they
Yeah.
get 1 point of corruption because they're becoming a bit arrogant and haughty because off their trading, they're making lots of money. It's starting to corrode their view. They start looking at other races as, oh, those are just, peons. Yeah, we trade with those guys. They're kind of like, so they might be a little bit more grating to deal with.
So that drops them to +1 good. From +2.
Just that city, yeah.
I think
Which
so.
Oh,
No,
it's
no.
it's all in
The
general.
civilization in general.
So they start getting arrogant. So they're
Uh,
kind and compassionate. They take
the
people in,
dwarves
but they're
basically
arrogant about
made
it.
Not
So
the
that-
dwarves. The
all
elves.
that
City
well,
elves.
that makes sense,
You
right?
can
Uber
live here.
magic.
It's
You
like,
must be this tall to enter.
we're so benevolent.
Yes. As long as you're this tall. We
And
haven't forgotten
also-
that.
Valvania, the gateway to the world, build what they are calling. I need to come up. I'll come up with a name for it. But it is a vast magical. It's one ship that's a horde, and what it is it's filled brimming with magical defenses. It's like the equivalent of like one of those battleships, basically.
It's aircraft carrier.
Yeah, and like anything along the coast, it can just level and destroy. And it's around Valvania, and it is just this massive, just battering ram of magical prowess and stuff like that. I'll come up with a good name for it later.
The Enterprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Alright.
Great city.
Boom. Not so much. That's all right. I have enough for my
Power.
So I've got 10 points in total. Now let me see. The threshold was 4, was it? for getting the bonus points? 5.
5.
Okay. So,
Yeah, you gotta use 5 for that.
all right. Let me check my notes. I can do that. So, things. The human empire, which was vast and thriving, is still vast and thriving. It's a huge area. But it had its fragile power structure has received a massive blow. They've lost Boyhawk, and these elves are getting pretty darn uppity. After we graciously allowed them to form this trading city, now they're building super weapons in it. This is
Can't imagine why.
Yeah. So at this particular juncture in history, the ruling family that has come out on top of the heap of it all, they start undergoing some assassinations and stuff like that as the lesser nobles start vying for, they see some blood in the water, they want to knock the top dogs off and take over. And so after a couple of assassinations, the human empire is ruled by a queen, fairly young queen. And one of the assassination attempts on her poisons her. She is poisoned by like the worst snake ever. It's like this black cobra that some assassin went and found from like the farthest
The rock desert.
horrible place.
With the salt scale.
Managed to sneak it into her bedrobes or something like that. And she got poisoned for that. So she's dying of this poison. And they're trying all the magics that they can to try and stop this poison, cure her. And it's just so horrible that she's dying. They can't do that. So they're going to need a knight to go on a quest to find a Triforce. That'll give you -2 on something. Which I'm So,
Okay, so what kind of knight do you want? I've got.
the knight to go on a quest to find the Triforce in order to heal the queen of this poison that is killing her.
That sounds like something.
Yes, she's
the
a beautiful queen, of course.
The Orange Knight will do that.
All right, what's an Orange Knight?
Sir Astrid, Knight of the Phoenix.
Alrighty.
You know, looking for
to bring
rebirth
her
from the
healing.
ashes.
She's
Yeah.
on her deathbed in the night of
4,
Phoenix.
5, 6.
You
She
did.
dies on the quest.
Alright.
She's buried in the. I guess she'd be buried somewhere in the garden there.
Well, all she has to do is make a wish, right? So as soon as she gets the Triforce, she can...
Yeah.
You could be like one of those things where it's an epic battle, she fights to get the last piece of the Triforce, makes her wish, and then, that's it, she dies, right? So she could die wherever the Triforce was, too.
Alright, well, the wording, the wish, since you don't get a wish from the Triforce often, whoever it is that came up with the wish, some servant of the court, whatever, does his best to, make this legal document that gets as much as he can wrung out of its wish. Not only to save the life of the queen, but to give her great power.
I'm dying. Oh, except for
Not only save her life,
Here, Triforce, read this.
but give her great power. And the exact wording of this document is lost to history. It's possibly going to be an important document later. But the results are somewhat unexpected. She becomes a legendary being, an immortal, a Naga. She is turned into this, the Serpent Queen is what she becomes known as. She is a black-skinned cobra hooded with a beautiful human face, Naga, with great sorceress powers and stuff like that. So she's very powerful and immortal individual. But this does not exactly improve the image of the royalty. So, great power, but even more instability, so she rules with an iron, well, she doesn't have a fist, but she has to,
She has no hands.
well, no, she's not,
It was just a snake.
yeah,
Oh.
With an iron
Yeah.
fang.
yeah, but she's like a sorcerer and has great
Her
power.
constrictive ability is very
Yeah,
good.
She'll spit on you. And,
Constrictive.
and yeah, she's got that poison, so anyway, that's what my turn is. I'm spending 5 points to
And
make
what's
the
her
human.
name?
She's known as the Serpent Queen, and I will give her a actual name during the turn because I don't want to waste time.
And where was the Triforce where the knight died?
Where did the knight die?
We don't know.
We don't know.
It's
Unknown.
It's a mystery.
Mm.
Mystery.
Oh, I see.
Probably the,
Yeah.
the document is there that has
That
the
is
exact
just
version
some
of
other
this
marker.
wish, which didn't entirely go according to plan, but this empire is now ruled by a legendary being.
Well, if you want, you can dictate where the Triforce was this time, because it would be in a totally different place.
Well, it's kind of interesting if
Yeah.
you don't.
I don't actually. It doesn't actually
Yeah.
matter to me.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
it basically all of
Yeah.
these tombs are going to be hidden to a certain degree,
Yeah.
but
All right.
and hidden in different ways.
Yeah.
So when you go to get a very complicated legal document, next time to go to Spendthrift, Pauper, and Copper. That's my recommendation.
Well, you know, she did. She's immortal. She's got great
Wow.
sorceress
I rolled
powers.
3.
She probably has like mind controlling things
Wow,
and all sorts of
9.
cool stuff like that. So she's gonna be able to hold
Oh,
power
I
even
guess
though
I would do something.
big snake.
She's probably immune to the snake venom.
Yes. Yes.
Let's hope so.
Probably where
She
the
has
snake
it.
part came
Oh, I bit my
from.
tongue.
Yes, that's where the snake part came from.
I'm immortal except from. Oh wait, that was lame.
I poisoned myself.
Careful, Queen, don't swallow.
So I spent all my points to get immortal, except for this one heal thing. But that's not gonna be a problem.
I'm gonna take my Vikings. Wait, did you have human? I'll take the Vikings. I'm gonna make a city. What's this? That's a sandstorm,
That's
right?
an eternal sandstorm.
Yeah.
Those two squares are filled with eternal sandstorm.
It's magic. I'm gonna make it here. It's It starts out Viking-like, but quickly Vikings don't live well in deserts, so it's gonna end up rather Arabian-esque. It's an Arabian.
Arabian
Okay.
Vikings.
Yes.
I assume they
Their
still
turbans
maintain
have
the
horns.
kind of
That
virtuous
would be-
honor-based thing. Just
Yeah, they really anti-slavery.
What is my
Because there's a
Viking
slave
side?
city nearby.
Oh, I guess it's still Viking.
Where's the slave
It's not
city?
really slumbers.
Right here. The guys who settled
Oh,
here
oh.
are slavers,
Yes.
right? Their army
If
is
you're making
also
a kingdom, like I would say, yeah, it's
New
Great
slaves.
Kingdom, which is
Well,
like Great
interesting.
Sunrise, and you can drop them by one or increase
I
them
want
by
to
one.
drop them by 1. I don't know what they're at now, though.
I think they were +2. I don't have it. I have to dig through the notes to find it. So,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
do you think they were +2?
I think they
+1.
were.
So they start at +1.
They're not that good.
So are the bad ones.
Hmm. Well, they're living next to, as Robin pointed out, a slave city.
That's fine.
So
I don't
So
mind
they're-
if they have slavery. I just
there we
want.
go. That's where the
I
minus
wanted
one.
an Arabian-esque city to
Yeah.
perhaps explore maybe at one time. If we get there. Can I look at that when you're done?
Oh, it's my turn.
Sure, we gotta come up with a name for
Oh, no, it's not.
Oh, sorry. I'll just add my points up.
Okay. And then I'm going to use my Cataclysm.
The big one or the
My
small
big
one?
one.
Oh,
I am
that's
going.
unexpected.
Things are smashing.
It starts with a cough.
Oh,
And it slowly evolves to there until, well, kind of like leprosy. Lips are falling off.
lips are falling off. You said?
Well, those two.
Oh, bits.
Lips and bits.
Lips.
Lips are bits.
Okay.
But it starts with a cough. And yes, I'm creating a plague.
Does it only hit a certain species, or is it multiple species?
It's hitting a lot of species. It's multiple species.
Does each person get to decide if it hits their species, or
Yes,
is it more
but-
global than that, in your opinion?
It's more global. You can decide if it hits your species hard.
The Revenant Warforged
Or
are
But it's gonna hit-
devastated.
It's gonna hit you no matter what.
No.
Yes.
no.
Like some places are pretty
Like,
They
safe.
feel
Like
so left out.
these guys, they don't have anybody really trading with them.
Yeah.
It really hits the trading cities hard.
Oh,
-1 cost
That's
for inflicting
traitors in the
the
world.
Yeah, it's true.
But this is free, anyways.
Gain a point.
That's
So
right.
it- yeah, on trading places,
Sucks to
it
be Elvish right
sucks.
now.
on if you're in the middle of a battle because there's
Dwarves.
sucks.
Dwarves, humans.
It basically
Well,
interaction.
I guess Voyhawk is already taken, so nothing much as, but there's a lot of fighting going on.
Yeah.
I think the humans are
It
going to have a bit of a
sucks.
problem with this.
It's also going to make people a little, well, quite wary of strangers.
Stranger danger.
Stranger danger, they might be sick.
Unclean.
So is it like a thing where like the plague goes off really bad and like decimates like a quarter like in like 100 years, and then it just sort of goes to the background and
100
it's
years,
around
like
here and there?
Yes,
Okay.
it's still around.
It's still around, but
Like takes-
there's a period where it's really bad,
Is
and
this
then
the
it's just
first time it's ever happened in history too? The first time we've seen a sickness of this magnitude? So it's like nobody
Yes.
even had any
No
idea.
one has
I think so. Nobody's done
It's
anything.
probably
mentioning-
unusual.
I like it.
It's probably unusual that it crosses so many species boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
Silence,
Magical.
geneticist.
So,
The Warforged are devastating.
No.
Not that species boundary. All right.
no.
The Warforged
They're
are devastated
pretty
that they didn't get in.
Yeah.
Oh.
Keep them left out. Yeah.
so it's sort of like it wipes out like a quarter of the population.
What are the population?
Okay,
Makes
the,
the
All
trading.
right. So we all got
a
to
little-
decide what our various influenced cultures are.
Yeah.
The mongrels are they're pretty tenacious, pretty tough because you know they're crossbreeds of everything. You know, you get that hybrid tenacity. So they mostly become carriers.
This is how come it hit everybody.
So
It's because of you
know,
guys.
a lot of mongrels died, but they just get this terrible reputation for being
Typhoid Mary.
filthy mongrels. Yeah. And, you know, people think they carry disease, you know, they tend to discriminate against them. The mongrels don't care, they're still very optimistic, but, you know.
Do mongrels make good slaves?
Yes and no. One of the things that they're very optimistic about at slaves is their chance of escaping, and they're very resourceful and ingenious about escaping. So the humans tend to enslave them, and they tend to escape, and they tend to, you know, it's like, have you seen this mongrel? He's got, you know, ears kind of like this. Well, we've got 20 like that, you know. Or maybe they escape and they disappear into a brown robe, you know. Like, they tend to be
Yeah.
open to the brown robe
It's the
thing.
Mongols'
So you've
fault
enslaved a
that
bunch of
everybody
MacGyvers.
gets this.
Yeah, basically you enslave the MacGyvers. And they're really handy to have as slaves because they're really ingenious at stuff, you know. They'll, as long as they're happy being slaves, they'll do good stuff for you. And then they'll be like, I don't want to be a slave anymore. I can escape anytime.
The humans, poor humans, they're surrounded by races that make crappy slaves. I guess we'll just have to keep
Don't
using
the elves?
the Vikings.
The elves make good slaves.
So what's the
they've
time-
got that giant
what's the
magic
time scale on
battleship
this
now.
play?
Whoa.
Not the ones I stole.
What's the time scale
Oh.
on this
My
play?
elves make good slaves.
It's
Oh, you enslaved some
real serious
Miles
for
to
about
build the
100
army
years,
on
that?
and
No, no,
then
no.
it kind of fades off.
There were wild
Right now it
guys.
turns
These guys
over.
had
Yeah.
slaves,
Yeah, okay.
and there was a slave
So the
army of
phoenixes will all
slaves,
die out
so I've got
for
a
100
bunch of-
years.
No. Like I said,
I want to make
for
it so that it's
actually
like,
this by
still
this
in the
point,
background
the wild
by
elves
time
aren't
we
quite
play.
so easy to catch.
Okay.
But when you
But
It's still around, but it's not like
It's
they were
gonna
killing everyone.
it's gonna
Oh,
wipe out the
no.
phoenixes. But they're phoenixes, so they'll rise again.
The stars be
decide to
particularly
play
well
one
rolled
they
too.
can change it, but by default, I would say a little bit. They'll start initially. They're saying like
So
kind
the
of
phoenixes
Caucasian,
will.
but they get.
I mean,
really
they'll
tan, they're
realize
out
they
in the
become
world, eventually
deathly
they're kind
ill,
of more.
and they'll gather around the great
I'd say
pomegranate tree,
Arabian.
Oh,
and their
okay.
ashes will go
Appropriate
into the
then.
earth to
I have
feed
a
it
question.
for 100
If
years.
it bursts into flame again, and they're by the pomegranate tree,
What?
are they gonna burn down the pomegranate tree?
I'm sure they know better.
But they sink into their ashes sink into the earth at the base of the pomegranate tree for several hundred years.
What?
The
Whatever.
phoenixes all died?
Yes.
Yes, they'll be back.
They
I'm
got
sorry, I missed
plagued.
that part.
They got
They'll get
plagued,
better.
And they died.
and they gathered themselves
Oh.
amongst the tree,
Sir, what's
and
his name?
they.
Leonard.
Leonard is
Oh. What are the
Well, no, their
beauty
spirits are
obsessed
fused with
gnomes
the
gonna
tree.
think about
Oh.
leprosy?
Their ashes have gone to
Oh,
new.
so now he has like
new
really
traits.
Those masks
multiple
become very
personality disorder.
Yeah, for the high
He's got an
elves.
entire race of phoenixes.
However, it works for trees.
For the high elves, obviously this plague is devastating. They probably suffer more than 30%, probably hit harder than anybody else, being that they are sort of fate's bitches a little bit. So, all except for Valvania, because Valvania, with the sorceress schools and stuff like that, they quickly do research and stuff like that and manage to find something which kind of staves it off a little bit. enough to where Valvania becomes even more preeminent of a city amongst the High Elves.
Oh, the humans are totally gonna blame the plague on you guys.
And the dwarves are totally
The
blaming
ship, by the
plague on
way, the
humans.
ship's name is Lightbringer. The big ship.
Yeah. Oh,
So
Lightbringer.
it's right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
The human. Okay. So here's what's gonna happen. Here's how this plague is received in the human lands. It's devastating, of course. Everyone gets sick, and lots of slaves die, which is a horrible economic catastrophe, and some non-slaves die too, which is pretty bad. And so, yeah, the human empire is already in a bit of leadership turmoil, what with the Serpent Queen taking the throne and the loss of that. And so, in order to try and reunify the human empire in her command, Serpent Queen's going to blame everything on the elves. Because look, they're doing fine. They've got this walled-off city. Clearly, this is their fault. They're making out like bandits from this. They're doing fine. Everyone else is suffering. It must be their fault.
Well,
So, yeah, that's going to be the conclusion.
Clearly.
So,
I think you're right.
yeah. Also, the dwarves.
yeah, the dwarves are blaming the humans, more specifically their new Serpent Queen. They figure she caused this. And they quarantine themselves in their mountains for a while. And that's a problem because the plague just gets worse and worse within their area, and it reduces their numbers greatly.
Oh,
Like, they're pretty thin at this point.
there's going to be all these dwarf fortresses that are like sealed from the inside with nothing
Yeah.
but corpses
Miasma.
inside. Yes,
Lots
miasma.
of miasma.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
what down to like
Fantastic.
10% of their former size?
Yeah, they're sucking.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
Well,
even worse than the
yeah,
elves.
the humans are doing so poorly. They're not going to immediately retake all these fortifications and stuff. They're still.
And
they got
the-
elves to.
The Scions
Teach
over
a
in
lesson for this.
ASAC, I figured they're pretty remote and isolated that it didn't really affect them.
Science sometimes kind of have this thing where they're just like, you get sick and they're like, no, I don't. Like that just seems like a Scion thing, right?
Yeah.
They're just like, mind over matter, right? I'm not sick.
Oh, one of the races that actually fares really well are actually the Wild Elves because they are very kind of isolationist, remote. They don't have many visitors, except for the slavers, but now they're getting pretty good at dodging them. So.
And there's not as many slavers.
And my Undqual
Because they
wannabes
keep dying.
have been kind of isolated out here, so I don't think they'll. Because
They're
they
not
kind of
majorly
separated,
affected?
yeah.
I got
I don't
some
think
more.
they're major
Oh.
affected. Yeah.
So the Vrock are sort of like, sickness? What sickness? Pass some more carrion, please. They got great immune systems.
Yeah.
It doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, the dwarves
Yeah,
they creep on their
absolutely
feet
loathe.
like vultures
Sure they
do.
do.
The dwarves absolutely loathe
Yeah.
the humans now. Like, before it was just ordinary
It's not
hatred, but
favored
now
by
it's...
me.
It was just xenophobia, you know.
Yeah, now it's just they... Oh,
Alright.
When,
They
when
want
the dwarves
the
eventually
humans
come
to
back,
die.
the humans
Now
are going to be
it's
like, oh, those
vengeance.
guys, we forgot about them. We're too busy hating elves now.
yeah.
So they're gonna sit
The
and stew
Smarls are they get hit by this somehow, like just by fluke. Something comes up in the mountains and gets them, and they're hit pretty hard. But they start working on, I don't know if it's magic or probably some kind of divine thing. As their bits start falling off, they start like doing divine magic to grow them back, and that's where they get their regenerate ability from. So they still have a whole bunch who die, but like they eventually learn how to regenerate those lost limbs, and so they their race in general, they pretty much all have it all the time, like in perpetuity, because they just keep spreading it, right? So they always have it. They're always, bits are always falling off, and they just grow them back.
Oh, this is horrifying.
Such a disturbing.
Plague trolls.
So,
colorful, colorful plague trolls.
Yeah.
You can see them.
No, it's pink. Ah!
So, Alonwi, might it be wiped out again?
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking that the other town that I hadn't named would, because it was due to its proximity with Alonwi, would also be wiped out. So the Finns there died. The other ones, regular sufferings from the plague. But
Then we get to build it a third time. Excellent.
Alright.
And how about the merfolk are immune?
Well,
Any mer thing?
Yeah, because they're in water.
Okay.
Yeah,
That makes
they're
sense.
fine.
Yeah.
and
They just can't get
I was thinking about the miner maids. I don't know whether they should be. I mean, they don't really have much of a civilization. They're very small towns, very small settlements, tribes almost. So they could catch it, they could get it, but it's not going to affect them much in the long run.
It's sort of they're
Yeah.
the standard quarter of the population and nothing
Yeah.
special.
Yeah.
All right.
The Ponen are very skilled with druidic magic, so I'm thinking they might be able to cure the illness. So they won't be badly affected by it.
I'd like that if there wasn't a cure. It's more like stay away from these people.
Oh, okay.
Once you get it, you're
Okay,
screwed.
because I was
Yeah.
thinking
Maybe some
they
species
would,
are immune.
they would be able to cure it, and as a result, the gnomes would be all like, "We need some Ponen."
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe-
But it's okay.
maybe when you
It's-
first
it doesn't
catch
really-
it, but if you get to the bits falling off stage, you're
It's too
Yeah.
late.
You're screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it could be like something special, like only the Ponen really know how to do it, and maybe it
Only
it
certain
has
components.
expensive components. So like you got to be rich. It takes like a week.
Yeah.
You got to catch it early, but then you can cure it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's around by
Yeah.
the time we play.
Okay, well, it's okay. They don't have to be able to cure it then. They should.
Shannon, would it go
I think
past
that
the
sounds
spell
cool.
wall, or would the spell shield actually protect, like,
It's
would it protect Hidehaven, basically?
Yeah, that would
Unfortunately not, because it's a disease. It's not a
It's not a magical
Yeah.
place at all.
And
Okay.
you keep accepting all these refugees. Speaking of which, this city is really not very many people anymore. It's a pretty much ghost town. I ended up naming it Ladaria.
Ladaria?
I can't
Diarrhea?
remember if it's a V or Y. It's a V. Ladaria. It's like a ghost town, and people in Hattervik are really like
It's a lot of empty cities
shoot
up there.
people before they try to come into our city. The Yunnan are pretty okay. Nobody goes up there. They're missed out on all of it. I think nobody mentioned it, but I think the salt dragons could be immune to it because their physiology is really different.
How do you reckon the Oblin would fare?
That was- yeah.
The Oblin,
They're made
We
of
have a
rock.
lot of races
but-
now.
the Oblin are minorly affected, but they just have really good quarantines and really good sanitary procedures. They
Anyone that gets sick gets tossed.
and anyone who gets sick gets tossed into the chasm.
So how does the plague affect the
They're
primordial realm?
They're fanatically clean. The
Yeah.
Oblin, like anyone who gets sick throws himself in the chasm.
I have failed the Oblin. I will now fling myself in there.
Yeah, so they have a very low infection rate.
That makes sense.
Which one?
Essentially, the nameless, the effect that the disease has on them is that they suffer about average casualties. I mean, the one city was wiped out, but they suffer about average casualties. But it actually binds them closer together because they rally around, they take care of each other. They call
Research medicine, maybe.
they research medicine. They do divine healing. They rally around. The gnomes, on the other hand, suffer perhaps less than usual, but it has a profound effect on their society. They started to loosen up on the veils a bit when this disease hit.
Their noses fell off.
And yes,
The front fell off. It's not supposed to do that.
yeah. Gnomes are fanatically afraid of physical disfigurement, and as a result, they become pathologically averse to physical contact. A gnome will go through life surrounded by 5 to 7 veils, differently scented with different scents which keep off the disease. They have little fetishes made out of bits of ponen that they hang from their wings. They have rituals and rituals and rituals of cleanliness.
Yeah.
They become these fanatical germaphobes, and not even realistic germaphobes. it doesn't matter whether it works. It just matters whether they're superstitious enough. They become a very superstitious people.
And they never.
I was
touch
imagining that
other-
the phoenixes
for
at the first great mass
gypsy type.
is when they perform their ceremonial dying ritual, and I imagine a lot of gnomes perished at the great mass.
Yeah,
Once the-
that was basically when most of them
Mask
did,
is a
and
real-
then
yeah, exactly.
and then they went apart for 3 years.
Oh,
And when they came back, they had all of these elaborate.
could that have been Ground
rituals.
Zero where it first
Maybe.
showed up?
The mask.
The
The Great Mass?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's so gross.
Yeah.
How would that actually affect how the Great Mask is played out?
Did they continue to do the Great Mass?
Or
Well-
do they modify it in some way?
Would
Yeah.
that be the first one, or because it sounded like you wanted there to be several, so maybe it should be like not the first Great Mass.
No,
Well,
no,
that actually
later.
After the day breaks out, the first great mask.
Oh,
After that,
Yeah.
the Phoenix is like abandoned there,
This has
like
been a long-running tradition at this point.
yeah.
Well, it's basically the central point of Gnomish society. They spend 3 years preparing for this, and then they spend another 3 years preparing for it. And
So they can't not have it. But
Yeah.
now it'll be different, right?
yeah, now
Yeah, now
it's,
you don't
it's,
touch.
it's
No touchy.
and basically it takes a lot of the fun out of the Great Mask. It becomes a thing of, because now you're not even allowed to dance with your partners. You kind of
It becomes like stylized, old, like English like dancing or whatever, where you're not actually touching, but it's still very.
yeah. And
These are really old. I found
Yeah.
them.
It's
So,
well
they're
aged.
good.
Everything's at arm's length.
Yeah.
The coffee is very hard.
Coffee is like rock hard. Oh.
Rock?
Rock hard.
Okay, are we done
I
dealing with
think
follow-up from
we've
that?
covered all the
Yeah,
races.
yeah, I think so.
Except I still think a Warforged should be kept. No.
Umqua.
Oh, the Rama, I think because of their bond with the cows, probably do better.
Also, they live isolated.
Yeah, they're really isolated, so I'm not thinking they'll do so. Also, there's not very many of them, and there's not like there are tons of them. This is very true.
First,
Taste of thick.
so on
I'm
this
eating glitter.
on this floating island, a race of they're basically intelligent animals. They aren't anthropomorphic, but they walk around as if they were. So like it's like a hippopotamus, but walking around on their hind legs, or like the giraffes. And they're intelligent. Like
Madagascar.
they like human intelligence, but yeah, they're a bunch of human intelligent animals, but they aren't anthropomorphic. And no one knows how long they've been there. They have, whether this is true or not, they have a belief that this is basically like some kind of like animal heaven. So if you were a really good mouse in your life, then you come back as an intelligent mouse on this plateau. And the reason that makes sense is because they don't have children or anything, because it doesn't make sense for a hippo and a giraffe to have children. It's just like, they just sort of appear one day, and they're just there and intelligent and go about their business, and eventually they die and everything. And so they don't have children; they just appear. So they have this theory that like this is where the good animals go when they die, which makes them not have any interest in the underlying world. Which is just the reason for that is because Brian doesn't want a bunch of intelligent animals around in the world. So, like, we can do whatever we want with them, but don't, like, spread them all over the world because that'll wreck Brian's plan. But, anyway, so they're just, like, they're up here and they think the world down below is for, like, it sucks. And they live up there. Okay, it cost me 6.
That actually fits in very well with my plans.
I could work that with my plans too.
Yeah, that's why I wanted them on this island, because Brian didn't want them in the world in general, so I thought that was a good place to have them isolated. I assume a few will eventually make their way into the world, but they're never going to have like cities in the world, because that won't work. And what else was going to do?
And are they the same size as the animals would be in real life?
Yes, yeah, they're the same size. So like
So
the
they're
mice are mice and the
They're
hippos are
exactly
hippos.
just like
And
normal animals.
oh,
except they're smaller.
when you create a race, do you get to give them a +1, or do you have to pay for the first one? I forget how it is. Do you
Greater
remember?
race, you could.
I think
Ooh,
sub race you
sub
could
race
Okay.
you could do. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll pay
It seems odd that you could do it for sub-race, but not for the main.
But we've been doing that way.
Yeah.
all those ways.
So I'm gonna make them good. Where's my?
And when I asked last session,
Oh,
Okay, I just couldn't remember.
I've never had need to use
What's
a
that?
corrupt or
I
instant
guess I'll purify.
when I created the elves, I wanted to make them pure, but it was determined that you could not
Okay.
by creation. So.
Okay, so they're +1. They're +1 good, and it's just because they're just sort of they're just sort of nice folk. They're sort of fun loving. It's not like they're sort of like they. I wouldn't say take it easy, but they're just like they're fun. And if someone comes, they're like, hey, how's it going?
They're sort of Disney animals.
Yeah, kind of like they're not like they aren't like I wouldn't say
Go
that,
with the flow.
I wouldn't say that they're super like moral, or not that they're immoral, but they're just they don't like have they don't have like a moral to tell like a Disney animal, but they're just sort of like they just kind of do their thing and they have fun and they live life, and if someone comes by, they're like, hey,
Hakuna Matata.
yeah, Hakuna Matata, I guess is their
So how do they interact with the carnivorous members of their?
they don't have to eat, I'll say, or maybe they don't eat each other. They're all just
Oh,
Yeah, Disney animals don't eat each other.
yeah. It's
I think they
it's totally inspired by there's this book called Alpha
Yeah.
Beasts, and it just like has all these like intelligent animals hanging out in a house together, and that's totally what they do. They just hang out, right? And they think this is like their sort of like they this is their life. They deserve to have this great life now because they apparently were really good mouths. It's not really clear what
Yeah.
defines what being a really good mouth is, since they're not intelligent at that point. But whatever. Let's see. I've got 5 points.
It's interesting how well that actually fits into some of the stuff I had planned.
I'm going to.
I can work with that.
So creating a sub-race is 4. And catastrophe is, I can use my free catastrophe, so I think I can afford this.
Nah, there's so much I want to do. Like I just
So-
I could do that. Oh,
And yet it's 9:45. We're gonna have to stop
Yeah.
after this.
So because the dwarves are so diminished, a whole bunch of from one particular city, a bunch of Ood escape. There aren't many left in the world, but there are still some Ood slaves, I'm going to use something that Brian said he was going to do, but I want it now. So
That's fine.
the Ood have been doing a thing where, because all the Ood that had 2 brains died in the big magical apocalypse, they snip the second brain when the babies are born, because they think that's how you avoid a magical apocalypse. So all the Ood have their second brain snipped at birth, and this was already going on, and maybe the dwarves enforced that for all we know. Anyway, they break away, and so they just end up living in this. A bunch of them are living in the Underdark somewhere. And they just start snipping their brains and throwing them down a pit or whatever. And eventually, over hundreds of years, all those brains start like congealing, and they form an intelligent elder brain that starts to think, and it really hates the dwarves and all the bad stuff that they did to them. It corrupts them and turns those Ood into mind flayers. So they're
I like the Ood now.
they're an evil subrace of the Ood. They snip their brains at birth and put it in the elder brain chamber, and so they have like this super intelligent brain that controls them. And they don't really have a city or anything. They just disperse through the Underdark and are basically monsters.
So do individuals have their own, like, do individuals have sovereignty, or are they run by the big brain? Or is it like
There's
a hive?
There's a combo.
It's
They
a
have
hive mind sort of thing.
Yeah, they have sovereignty, but that brain has a lot of influence over them too. Because it's sort of, in a way, it's part of their brain, and so it has sort of a connection to them, even though it's snipped off. So it's it's sort of they're sort of half controlled by themselves and half controlled by the hive mind, or not even hive mind, the mind of the elder brain. And eventually, like, multiple elder brains form and everything. They're just monsters.
And their super intelligence comes from the hive mind.
Right. They themselves are normally intelligent, but they have a super intelligence that directs them as a group. So, and that leaves me with 1 point.
I like them a lot.
There's still a few regular Ood in the world as slaves, but they're a very tiny population now. And even the mind flayers don't have cities; they're just around. So that's my turn.
And that's it.
9:48. We should
Okay.
We should finish the round.
Oh, who went first?
Oh,
Yeah, so we're still about halfway done. So what we could do, I could just note down who's left to go, and then we remember that for next time.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
then,
because we're not done this Legends.
yeah. So let me just note down who's left.
So we didn't even get a whole second.
We're very
Yeah.
descriptive.
Building a world took so long.
Yeah, we started a bit late,
It's
and also
fun. I like building worlds.
also we had to do the naming later. That
Yeah.
seems to really.
Yeah, that really takes a lot of time. Like other times we've done it, we just didn't even name cities. We're like, we found this city, we found this city. If it became important, people came up with it, or a lot of them Brian just came up with afterwards because it was relevant. So.
Well, when I name something, I'd come up with a name in advance.
Yeah.
And
I
I
haven't
keep
even.
meaning to do
I
that.
haven't even named the strip of cream yet. I've got a potential name here, but it's not good. I'll come up with something.
Although, I do have a plan for my next turn.
Ooh, what's a good name for the disease?
First death.
First death.
The first death, yeah. But that was just
Front fell.
That's, I think, what the elves might call it, regardless, just because they live for a very, very long time, and they haven't. Some have died, but this is the first mass death they've ever had. So,
I meant to ask you that. How long does a typical elf live?
well, at this point, I'm kind of going with the kind of ancient elves. They live for thousands of years. My God, they,
Oh, they're
that's.
awesome slaves.
Dale lives in
I
that
like
story.
how
It
you're
can be
thinking.
willed to the next generation.
I've been in your family for 300
Might be the
years.
time of your great-great-great-great-great-grandfather.
I suspect over time some of them might escape, just because it's just like, yeah, I've been waiting 100 years. Oh, look, there's an opportunity today. I could escape.
Yep.
That's a good thing about living in the middle of the desert.
On the other hand,
It's hard to escape.
they could stay slaves for many hundred years because they can be like, well,
Eventually.
I'm in no hurry. Like,
Yeah.
I have a plan. Your
Eventually,
great grandson. By the time your great great grandson comes around, I'll have
I will.
finished digging this hole in the wall. Meanwhile, 20 million. 20, several thousand mongrels are coming and going,
It's just like, I'm the tutor of your child.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try worming. Oh no, he's not quite good enough. All right, his son, I'm going to get
I was
this
gonna
time
go-
for sure.
I want to go a different direction. Every year, put a little lead in their food. Over generations, they become babbling, drooling.
Meanwhile, with this spoon, I will dig a hole in the wall. I've got time.
Yep.
So it's like the Great Escape, but instead of like trying to go 100 feet, instead they're like, where you need to get 3,000 miles.
Well, it turns out I'm working for this family now, and they are 3 blocks closer to the edge of the wall. Meanwhile, the
I guess it
mongrels
becomes
are
a
like,
problem.
hey, I'm going to build a glider.
That lacks
And
finesse.
the elders are like, good things come to those who wait.
Well, keep in mind that the mongrels tend to also die in their harebrained sleep. If you know you're going to live 1,000 years, you don't need to build a glider. You're just like, yeah,
Build a
telephone.
teleporter.
Well, it's interesting. The dwarves aren't a problem for the humans anymore. Elves.
Well, we have Lightbringer.
That's the problem. You know what else that brings light? Nuclear bombs.
Brian, you made a snake ruler.
Yes.
You know what happens when you make a snake ruler of a human civilization, right?
What happens when I make a snake ruler of a civilization?
Especially one that takes slaves.
What is that happens when that happens?
No? You don't know? It's the theme song to our office.
I didn't know we had a theme song.
Where the two snakes
Facing
facing
each
each other.
We need a second one! I hadn't planned on making a second one, but we need a second one now. And we'll breed them.
And then
That means you're going to get James Earl Jones. Awesome.
Maybe she'll get lonely.
James Earl Jones is coming. And then comes the Arnold.
The Governor.
I do have some ideas about her potentially creating a race of Yuan-Tai later, but I don't really have a solid plan for that. I just wanted to give the humans an interesting edge.
what John did, I basically have figured out how the shifters are going to come about.
With the animal thingy.
Yeah.
Crossbreeding.
But the end result will be nice. We just don't need to worry about the gritty details.
Well, interesting, because I had been building some plans off of your idea with the Styxma curse thingy.
Yeah.
So I'll have to rebuild those.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll come up with new ones. New plans, everyone.
I figure if the animals crossbreed with humans, shifters happen. And they will be outcasts and hide in the forest.
So, John, do you know
That'll
if we're
be
going
nice
to have another
We need more
round
forks.
of legends after this, or is this the last round of legends we go to history?
You can just assume forest, like.
We'll probably have at least one
space.
more. That's what.
Wait, what?
Next time we gotta get started on time, and we gotta
So-
try and do the turns faster.
Oh,
We couldn't start on time because Tim had to work late. So
We'll try. But
Well-
we can do faster turns.
Yeah,
there was a lot of.
a lot of people just go into too much detail.
Oh.
And
well,
Here's
no,
a thought.
not too much.
I like the
Kind of
detail. It's
important, though,
great
isn't it?
flavor,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
I
it's-
think we need to think of names ahead of
it
time.
could be.
Yeah,
Well,
or
the
just
wording
skip the
is much
names.
Yeah.
Because
skip names.
it seems to me that
Okay.
like if saying, "Hey, let's skip on the details later on when you're playing, that's
Yeah.
going to be the cool stuff."
I don't mean skip the details, just accelerate them.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, fair enough.
Well, mostly have a plan or skip the details.
Yeah.
Because if someone has a plan, then he's like, blah blah blah. These are details, and that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
But if you're like, oh gosh, what should I call this city?
Yeah, that was the
It's
most.
a
That was the
city.
most agonizing part.
But I mean,
Yeah.
at the same time, I mean, we're putting in stuff that we want, and if it takes longer than we thought, like,
Yeah.
is that really hurting anything?
I agree.
No,
with that
I
too.
don't mind the details.
Yeah.
The pauses. We're trying to
Here's-
pick it up on the
Yeah.
But
fly.
I mean, even if this takes more sessions than we think it's going to take, like,
Yeah.
is that really hurting anything?
As far as starting late goes, work's kind of crazy right now. My Friday's fairly heavy. I can't do too much to help that.
Okay.
I do know that one night we started, we did it on Saturday, and that didn't actually cause too many problems for anybody.
I don't want it to be
does that
Saturday ongoing though, because that we can't commit to that every week because that cuts our weekend in half.
Okie doke.
We go to the farm fairly.
So yeah, we can't do Saturday night.
Okay,
Don't you
okay,
go-
then we can do Friday, and I can try to work with it, because in the end, like, I worked a 12-hour day every day this week, and then I was like, yeah, I'm going to work an 11-hour day this week.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to do
And,
next
They
Saturday?
were like, okay.
Yeah, look, we could do a Saturday short term, but it's got to
Well-
be Fridays in the long run.
Friday won't be crazy in the long run. Like,
Oh.
honestly, it can't be, so I'm going to tell them that it can't. But,
Well, we could do Saturday
This
next
week's
week.
been kind of special because we've got the new guy in, and he's having trouble
Where did all
finding
this
stuff.
go? This needs.
But John, is there going to be another round of legends? Because for planning for next session, it's good to know if we're doing one more round.
Do
Or
people want another round of legends before we go to history?
I'm good with going to history.
Yeah,
personally.
let's
Yeah,
actually
this round at-
finish this round and then,
Yeah.
and then go to history.
Finish the rest.
I'm good
So
with that.
that's great by me. I just
Okay. So next time we'll be at
Yeah.
history.
it means that I can
Let me
make
just
it
look
so
at this. I
that
gotta see if I.
all the points are
This,
reflected in
fine.
my pre-planning.
oh, that makes creation of races a lot more expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we're still going to have another round.
but we have a
Yeah,
lot
but
of races.
I had two more. I was going to do this round.
Do you think how many points did you have left over?
I
Do
just
you
wanna
have
make
points?
I have
Shifters,
5.
and then I'm
I
good.
think I might be able. Maybe we could
Can we do one?
We could do one more
Finish
round
this round
of,
and do one more whole round.
of legends and then do history. How about that?
Sure.
Okay.
I have one more race to create.
Okay.
But you'll get another round.
But you-
I have one more
Yeah.
race to
Yeah.
create, but I'm tempted to create it in the third age.
Unless I roll like a.
Well, the other thing we could do.
Yeah.
The other thing. We
Yeah,
could
the
do
points
is,
are my main concern because in
The
order to
only
pull
real
off what I'm going to
difference-
do, I need, I think, 18 points. I've banked 5.
The only things that are
So,
cheaper is influence and
Have you
command.
got
I
it?
banked my
Free.
max, so
like
yeah.
commando,
So you have to
like,
roll
and they're only
10.
slightly cheaper.
Yeah.
Really,
But races get more expensive.
Yeah.
I
On the other
might,
hand,
I
I
might
can
be
give you
able
some
to. Yeah, I might be able to
time when
borrow.
you
I might
can't
be able to
create
fiddle
Does it
things
mess
around.
things up if they're
Because-
traded in the third?
Yeah.
These ones.
I'd rather get to them.
Well, you know, if
It's not a
really
huge
have-
disaster, but I wouldn't mind one more round of legends. And then we'll feel-
if everyone, so you
I don't
guys
mind
want to
giving
create
you
races,
the
but
points,
you'll
I don't
have a
have
chance.
really
Ryan's the
anything
only
to
one who will get screwed by switching to legends So why don't we just switch to Legends and say Brian can create races on his first turn at the Legends? Or sorry,
Sure.
switch to History and give Brian a special, like, you can create races
Okay.
on your turn for the Legends cost.
Okay. Yeah.
And Shannon, I'm assuming that means
Yep.
you're okay with creating them in the third cycle?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so...
It's just the race that I want my players to be from, and
Yeah.
it doesn't can be any time.
Alrighty then.
That works.